Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. If we have Ingrid with us, ma'am, country head of ILO.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. When you because you will be the first speaker after my introduction, and let me begin with formally. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much for joining us on World Day Against Child Labor. This is very important webinar that we are conducting, and we will be having country head ILO Pakistan, and then we will be having Ariane Genthon. She is Program Officer Child Labor in Agriculture. She will be joining us from Rome, FAO headquarters, and we will be having Chuadhary Muhammad Shafiq, Senior Technical Advisor, National Parliamentary Taskforce on SDGs, and he's also Head of Parliamentary Commission on Human Rights. Then we will be having Malik Muhammad Ashraf Sahab, President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Zahur Ahmed Awan, General Secretary Pakistan Workers Federation, and Dr. Shakil Khan from FAO Islamabad. Lubna Tajik from FAO Pakistan, and Sagir Bukhari Saab from ILO Pakistan. Belar Jamil Raza, CEO Idara Talim Agahi, and co-founder of Children's Literature Festival. Please say apne mic band kar dijiye. Switch off all the mics, please, except mine. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bela Raza Jamil, I was introducing, CEO Idara Talimu Agahi, and then Aisha Khan, CEO Hashu Foundation and head of CSR Hashu Group. Sajad Chima Saab, Executive Director Spark. The organization works for child rights in Pakistan for decades now. Dr. Sima Mumtaz from Karachi, and Aftab Alam Khan, international expert on poverty, population, and food security. And then Shoaib Ahmed Shahzad Saab from UNFPA Punjab office from Lahore, and some other friends will also join us. As all of you know, you are all expert in different fields and working against child labor and on child rights. This day is very important for all of us to review our pledge, to review our performance, to review what our action plan is, and to make amendments according to the experiences learned during practicing our scope and mandate of work in different organizations where we work. But unfortunately, when I was going through the data and state of information that we have on child rights, that is very pathetic. In Pakistan, we are using an estimated data from 1990. That is terrible. And I believe government and the development partners should really see into like a data that was estimated, not even that comes through any survey or concrete information flow, but it was just an estimate. In 1990, 22.8 million children are out of school, and then estimated half of them are engaged into child labor. And 30 years after, I read Dr. Shiri Mazari's statement this morning on the World Day Against Child Labor, and she was referring to the same data. And I tweeted, quoting her, like, please refresh your data and have some current statistics. If you don't have current statistics, you will not be able to combat child labor from Pakistan. With this, I would like to invite country head Islamabad Labor, International Labor Organization, ILO Pakistan, Ingrid Christensen, to let us know.
Yeah, I will call later.
To let us know the state of child labor in Pakistan. Why combating child labor is very important, and what is the overall scenario in reference to Pakistan? Yes, Ms. Ingrid.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting us to also join this important webinar on the day of the World Day against child labor.
Excuse me, ma'am. Before you proceed, I will request you to readjust into the frame.
Yeah, but I can't because it's the camera that sits like that, so I'm not able to do that. So sorry about that.
Okay.
I think you can see that the camera is kind of fixed, and so I will do that as best as I can.
Okay, fine.
Thanks very much for inviting us to this important webinar here. And it's a great pleasure for us. The Child Labor Day and also the child labor issue is an issue that has been, that the ILO have been working on for a number of years. And what is your sort of, okay. Are you looking for something, sir? Sir, are you looking for something?
No. I'm just going through the comments coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me take this opportunity also to express our appreciation for the efforts made to organize this event here, to convene a number of stakeholders in the area. Every year, the 12th of June, it reminds of us a sad chapter that regrettably still exists in several countries, including Pakistan, and that's that of child labor. Therefore, today, in many countries across the globe, governments, employers, and workers, and other stakeholders, they gather, or as we do here, come together, but in a different way, to reconfirm the commitments towards eradication of child labor, with particular focus on what we call the worst form of child labor. And this year, and maybe not so surprising, the theme is COVID-19, protect children from child labor now more than ever. Because the day inevitably is also, as it takes place in the context of the global pandemic on the COVID-19, and therefore it is very, very relevant also to look at it in that context. We are at the same time looking forward to the opportunities that the International Year on the Elimination of Child Labor 2021 brings onto the road to the set date by the SDG target 8.7 to end child labor in all its forms by 2025. So we basically only have 5 years to do our job. We know from earlier time that crisis situations can push families and the children themselves into poverty and to resort to child labor. So this is one of the concerns we have at this point in time. All over the world, I think it is, or in most places, it's conducted as a virtual campaign and is organized jointly with a global march against child labor and the International Partnership for Cooperation on Child Labor in Agriculture. As I said, the World Day this year focused on the impact of the crisis on child labor. The COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic and labor market shock are having huge impacts on people's lives and livelihoods. And unfortunately, children are often the first to suffer. The crisis can push millions at a global level of vulnerable children into child labor. Already, the estimates across the globe suggest that there are 152 million children in child labor, and 72 million of those are in what we call hazardous work. These children and some of the others are now at even greater risk of facing circumstances that are even more difficult and working for them. And this could include more hazardous work, or working longer hours, or facing other hazards. I'm also happy to say pleased to say that the Pakistan COVID-19 socioeconomic impact assessment and response plan that the UN supported the Planning Commission to do also addresses child labor, in particularly establishing, as you can say, a monitoring system to see if there is any impact and to address it immediately. COVID-19 presents unprecedented risks to the rights, to the safety and security, and to the development of children. The World Day calls upon countries and organizations to focus on the needs of the most vulnerable during crisis management and the recovery. It's a challenge, but I believe we also have a chance to not only defeat the pandemic, but actually also address child labor as part of it, and thereby contributing to the overall global target. But we have to act now, and we had to do that even if the pandemic had not been there, because we only have 5 years left, and 5 years go like a second almost. And we have also to upscale our work if we are to make the target, to meet the target in 5 years' time. The pandemic and the resulting global economic and social crisis are having impact on people's lives and livelihoods. For many children and their families, the fast evolving situation means disrupted or less household income, job insecurity, family illnesses, and discontinuation of, or possible discontinuation of education. In Pakistan, when we were making the impact assessment for the, in collaboration with the Planning Commission, sort of a light estimate suggested that at least 12 million jobs could be at risk. And with the more severe crisis, which I think we are into now, in the vicinity of 20 million, and it could even escalate, because it seems, you could say here in Pakistan, that that the crises are now only raising. These builds on that it is in particular the informal sector that will be hit. But we also know that some of the formal sector are hit as well. But informal sector, daily wage workers, they have they face challenges, job disruption, and thereby job income. It's maybe not all unemployment, but again, underemployment or lower number of hours, and there may lower amount to take home. So yeah, and then combined with this is the absence of adequate social protection system, because that exacerbates the vulnerability of the families and thereby also their children. Significant strides have been made here in Pakistan to eradicate child labor over the past 20, 30 years, but we need to do more if we are to meet the target. Many children in child labor are now at greater risk of entering the more hidden and hazardous forms of work, and perhaps working longer hours as a going sort of under the scanner. And the crisis can push even further children into these jobs. We see that girls are particularly at risk of, for instance, taking on additional domestic care work or home care, and are thus, for instance, at risk of being exposed to, and we saw that recent days, to, for instance, physical and sexual abuse, but there are also many other risks that they may face. The fight against child labor requires strong partnerships at national, provincial, and community level. if we are to meet the target. The National Child Labor Survey, as you were referring to, was done in 1996. That was the comprehensive one. It's not that we don't have any data at all. In the meantime, the labor force survey do actually suggest some, and have some indications of the size of it. At least but that's only at the moment from 10 years and upwards. And we know also that we have child labor, or there could be child labor that are below that. But there are, as I think we have a duty also to act on the data that are already there. And I can see a lot of data are coming in, so I would not go into that. But the ILO, together with other UN agencies, including UNICEF, are supporting the government to also conduct the National Child Labor Survey. And that's on the way. It was launched last year, 25th of March. And it's on the way in all the provinces. And the data are, of course, coming in and should be coming in shortly. And then we would also be helping the governments and the social partners to analyze the data so that you can see where do we actually need to focus our jobs. Because the situation, we think, have changed since the 1996, and so where the comprehensive survey was done. Maybe child labor is found in other branches or on the sectors, etc. So that means we have to direct our efforts towards the sectors and towards the form of child labor that are being performed today. Another thing that are concerning also to the situation right now in the COVID context is the closure of schools, which may have impacted the situation. We don't have too much data on that yet, but we know from qualitative statements that this is an issue. And I'm happy to also note I was speaking with my colleagues at UNESCO a week or two ago, and they were talking about how to do education through radio. And you can say, well, okay, we are doing webinars, and many school children today are doing it via internet, etc. But if we are looking at the rural sector, the agricultural, the children, which I think also our colleagues from FAO will talk more about, because that's one of our concern area where you have child labor, where the country would have child labor, and but not some of these children may not have access to internet. So therefore, we need to also look at other means to reach these children so they don't drop out of the whole schooling system, and what they have learned already is wasted. So these are important things to look at. Workers and employers organizations play a key role also when we are to prevent child labor. They do so in preventing young children below the minimum age from entering the child labor and encouraging both their members, be they employers or be they workers, to take action to prevent the children are entering the labor market, but equally to prevent the economic consequences of the pandemic. Because child labor is not a standalone issue. It has to be, it's a social and economic issue, and therefore it also, you need to address it also in the socio-economic aspects, and that includes, among others, also you can say promoting decent work opportunities for the parents. Social dialogue, both between employers and workers, but also, of course, with the government, has proven to be absolutely crucial for a balanced crisis management and response, ensuring the protection of workers' rights, the rights of children, as well as business continuity. And if you look at the ILO, what we are proposing, and that's not only in Pakistan, but globally, what we are proposing as policy responses to address the emerging risks that are coming out of the crisis are fourfold. One is to protect workers and their families and providing livelihood supports. We know that agriculture, informal economy, especially maybe informal economy in the urban area, there may be disrupted incomes and disrupted livelihood opportunities. So, but whereas in the agriculture, there may be work, but maybe not the workers are at the place where it's needed. So there are some issues there to ensure that the families have decent livelihood opportunities. But it's also to stimulate employment opportunities, for instance, through labor-intensive work. We are engaging, we're looking at prospects for projects in the KP, where we are looking at on road and infrastructure development. And such things have in other countries proven, and I think also after the earthquake here in Pakistan, have proven to provide job opportunities to the poorest of the society, and thereby again can also help preventing child labor overall. But it's also about cushioning the businesses so they can continue, because there are a lot of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in this country, as there are in many other countries. And if they have to close, yeah, then there are 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 that are losing their jobs and will then have to find something else if they can. And that again, pushes the families maybe beyond what they can manage. So the first thing is to protect workers and their families, providing livelihood support. The second one concerns strengthening social protection for all. That's about sickness benefits, cash transfers, etc., in the case that there is no job available. So this is a second important area. So there are some alternative income opportunities. The third pillar concerns public quality education for all. And as I already said, distance learning is one of the things that we are looking at this stage. And it's, of course, via internet where that exists. And luckily it is growing it reaches many more parts of also Pakistan, but there are still areas where children cannot use that. So we need to look at other means, and here maybe the radio is one of the things to do. I know that we have also been developing some materials that are easy to understand for children, color books, etc., on child labor, and this can also they can be used without electricity, without internet connection, etc., once you have them. And finally, we are advocating for increased advocacy and partnerships. There's no partner, and nor the ILO, that can meet the target of 2025. We have to work in partnership. The Alliance 8.7 is one of them, but also many other. We have to work at partnership at global level. We have to work at partnership at local, at a national level. We have to work at partnerships, you can say, in the supply chain, which is from the global to the local, to the national level. But we also have to work at the district level in a country like Pakistan. It's not done in Islamabad only. It's really the whole scale, from the very top global level to the community level, where the actual child labor often takes place. And it is, in summing up, it is important to address the challenges with an integrated view on the fundamental principles and rights at work, which becomes ever more important in the times of crisis. We should not let those go. And they are, of course, a part of a wider global human rights approach and child protection approach also. And they lay the foundation for an inclusive and sustainable recovery that leaves no one behind. So at the end, I would like to emphasize the need to allocate additional resources, not only money, but also human resources, to support the efforts to monitor the impact of COVID-19 on child labor, forced labor, human trafficking, particularly in relation to school closures, business shutdowns, unemployment, underemployment, and the loss of livelihoods in the affected communities, and the lack of social protection system. And secondly, and that is equally important, that is to address the emergent issues in a swift and effective manner. It's not enough to have the data that there are impacts. We also need to act, and we need to act fast, and we need to act together. So with this, I would say thanks very much, and I wish you all a very good and effective and you can say, constructive child labor day, where we put focus on the topic, the sad topic, and where we also not only talk about it, but also do something about to eradicate child labor with priority to the worst form of child labor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your initial talk about ILO and partners and government's role and what is to be done. I just want to ask a very brief question. Do you convinced with the steps taken by the government of Pakistan in combating child labor from Pakistan, and what role has been of employers organizations? What do you see?
I think in terms of the latter, I'm happy to know that you have both as employers and workers on the panel. So I would think that you would ask also them as about that. We see that there is a lot of, as I said, there have been as a number of steps taken over the past 20, 30 years. And we are looking forward to the results of the child labor survey to also see what is the scale actually, where do we have the things.
Right.
But I think we all recognize at all levels, including the civil society organization, I think there are quite a few of those on board, that more needs to be done.
Right.
May I add something?
Excuse me, 2 minutes, Bukhari sahab. Ma'am, when this survey would be completed, that is on from last March?
I believe it was scheduled to be completed within a year, but it's clear that the COVID-19 has impacted also it, because some of them took longer time to start, etc. And in some areas it's more complicated, and therefore as we know that they are ongoing in the different areas, but I wouldn't be able to say exactly when we have it. And then once you have it, please also ask us. It's UNICEF who are the lead agency on that. And once the data are in, then obviously you would need to look to analyze the thing.
Okay.
So
thank you.
It will take some more time. So we need to wait with a bit of patience in that. But that's not to say that we cannot do anything, because we already know, and there are a lot of you can say, information coming out. There is the labor force survey. There are studies. There are even you can say from seminars or workshops or trade unions or employers organizations, etc. So there are a lot of information already there. So I think we would be missing the boat significantly if we were sort of leaning back and say, okay, we wait until we have the study, because we already know that we need to do more. And so we can go on that, and there are some, you can say, also in some sectoral studies that are suggesting maybe where there are possible child labor so we can act on these. So it's not an excuse to say, okay, let's wait for the big study, but the big study can help us all to sort of even direct it more and say, okay, it is that sector, or it is that area, or it is this form of work that we really have to prioritize.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. And before you leave, I would, Sagir Bukhari sahab, you want to make some comment to my previous question. Please go ahead. Sagir Bukhari sahab.
Sir, no, I just wanted to inform, because yesterday I mentioned that there is another webinar at 11. So maybe some of the questions I can respond later, okay, because Miss Ingrid Christensen and Brother Zahoor Awan both have to attend the other one. So I was, you know, which will be starting in, or maybe already started.
Okay,
so
Bukhari sahab, before Zahoor Awan sahab leave, I think I should ask him to proceed on, and ma'am Ingrid can leave now if she wants to go to other webinar. And Bukhari Sahab, I think Zahoor Awan Sahab is with us. Zahoor Awan Sahab, can you hear me? Mic on करें. Zahoor Awan Sahab, mic on करें अपना. अनम्यूट कर देना. ज़हूर अमान साहब, माइक
हेलो जी जी.
हाँ प्लीज, आपने अगले सेमिनार में जाना है, मुझे असल में अभी रोम जाना था.
हाँ बिल्कुल, असल में इस तरह है कि इनग्रिड के साथ मुझे भी, बल्कि वो मेरे ख्याल में 11 बजे शुरू होना था.
जी जी.
और वो इम्पोर्टेंटली एम्प्लॉयर फेडरेशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने ऑर्गेनाइज किया है, जिसमें गालिबन जुल्फी बुखारी साहब भी वहां पर मौजूद हैं. मैं इतनी बात करूंगा
जी जी
कि जो कुछ इनग्रिड ने कहा, असल में चीज ये है कि आज के हालात में सिर्फ कोरोना वायरस, एक तो ये है कि मैं ये सजेस्ट करूंगा कि मैंने जो भी ILO पे किताब लिखी है उसकी 100 साला जदोजहद पर, तो वो 100 ईयर सेंचुरी, वो एक कॉपी अवेलेबल है सगीर बुखारी साहब के साथ. उसको मैंने चाइल्ड लेबर पे बिल्कुल एक अलग चैप्टर है जिसमें इन कंटेक्स्ट विद द कन्वेंशन 138 एंड 182. मैं तो माशाल्लाह इस सब्जेक्ट पे इसलिए भी कि जब से चाइल्ड लेबर का सिलसिला है, 4 इंटरनेशनल लेबर कॉन्फ्रेंस, चाइल्ड लेबर कॉन्फ्रेंसेस हो चुकी, जिनमें मैंने 2 में शिरकत की और तीसरी जो ब्राजील के अंदर थी उसमें वीजा की वजह से नहीं जा सका. लेकिन मैं ये इनकरेज करूंगा कि मेरी जो किताब है, सगीर बुखारी साहब आपको कॉपी दे सकते हैं,
ठीक है,
उसके अंदर ये चीज 138 और 182 के कंटेक्स्ट में पूरी एक हिस्ट्री लिखी है. फिगर्स भी वो मौजूद है जिनका इनग्रिड ने यहाँ जिक्र किया. लेकिन अल्टीमेटली इसके अलावा सिर्फ और सिर्फ मैं इतनी बात करूंगा जो कोरोना वायरस से मतलब आप प्रेजेंट सूरत हाल के अंदर ये मामलात हैं. अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, कितनी पॉवर्टी आ रही है, उस पॉवर्टी के अंदर क्या करेंगे वो वालिदैन जो अनएम्प्लॉयड हुए इंडस्ट्री के क्लोजर की वजह से, कोरोना वायरस की वजह से. इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर का जॉब भी तकरीबन ऑलमोस्ट बंद है. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर जो हैं वो आउट हैं, सैलरीज उनको नहीं मिल रही. तो किस तरह वो चाइल्ड लेबर को अपने वो इनकरेज नहीं करेंगे. बल्कि आज की एक कहीं से मुझे रिपोर्ट मिली कि क्वेटा बलोचिस्तान के अंदर तकरीबन 3 लाख बच्चे इस सिलसिले में चाइल्ड लेबर पे आ गए हैं. इधर से पिकिंग करते हैं, वो करते हैं, मुख्तलिफ जगहों में वो घूम फिर रहे हैं कोरोना वायरस की परवाह किए बगैर. ये वो सूरत हाल है. दूसरा फिर आप समझ लें सोशल प्रोटेक्ट एजुकेशन में, मैं समझता हूँ सफेद पोश लोग भी अपने बच्चों को अच्छे स्कूलों से नीचे ड्रॉप कर रहे हैं कि उनको तनख्वाहें, वो बेरोजगार हो गए हैं. अभी आ जाए डेप्ट बन जाए, कितना पाकिस्तान के अंदर इस वक्त ब्रेक किल्न का वर्कर्स है, और पंजाब के अंदर लोन उनकी तादाद कोई कम से कम 20 लाख से ऊपर है. तो वो जिस वक्त बंद होंगे डेप्ट, वो क्यों नहीं लेंगे. डेट बैंडेज में बहुत ज्यादा एक में सेक्टर का सोशल प्रोटेक्शन जो है वो हुकूमत 1 रुपया भी किसी उस स्कीम में जो वर्कर से मुतल्लक है सोशल प्रोटेक्शन में, यानी जो EOBI ये पेंशन स्कीम है, सोशल सिक्योरिटी है वर्कर की, वो सिर्फ ऑर्गेनाइज वर्क फोर्स की तरफ से, वो भी ऑर्गेनाइज वर्कर. माइग्रेंट वर्कर जो बाहर से आ रहा है, कितनी बड़ी तादाद उनकी यहाँ पर है, वहां से भी मार खाई, महंगे महंगे टिकट भी वो लेकर पाकिस्तान को आ रहे हैं, यहाँ भी आकर कर्जों के नीचे डूबेंगे. तो किस तरह मुमकिन है कि वो नहीं. तो ये मेरी चंद बातें, मुझे लीव करना है. मेरी इंशाल्लाह किताब आप तक पहुंच जाएगी. उसके अंदर ये तमाम स्टेटिस्टिक्स हैं, तमाम चीजें हैं, सक्सेस स्टोरी हैं. हाँ, सक्सेस स्टोरी इस लिहाज से जरूर है कि आबादी की पॉपुलेशन कितनी बड़ी, लेकिन आज अगर 152 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन जो हैं वो तकरीबन यूं समझें कि उनमें से 100 मिलियन तो पिछले वो सर्वे से डिक्रीज हैं. 252 मिलियन थे एक जमाने में 20 साल पहले का अगर हम सर्वे लें. तो एफर्ट्स जरूर हैं, लेकिन एफर्ट्स को मजीद एनहांस करने के लिए बहुत सारी पॉलिसियां इस किस्म की हैं जो हम मुख्तलिफ मामलात पे प्रपोज करते हैं. आज भी एम्प्लॉयर फेडरेशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान और पाकिस्तान वर्कर फेडरेशन दोनों ने एक जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट भी निकाला है बाइलेटरलिज्म के इस चाइल्ड लेबर के इशू के ऊपर. उसकी भी कॉपी जनाब को मिल जाएगी, वो शेयर कर सकते हैं. आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. मुझे दूसरी तरफ इनग्रिड के साथ
ज़हूर अवान साहब, मुझे सिर्फ इतना बताइए कि देखिए जो एम्प्लॉयर्स फेडरेशन के साथ भी आपका ताल्लुक, जैसे आपने बताया कि देयर इज linkage between Workers Federation and Employers Federation. Employers ने over the years इतना profit कमाया है, उनके जो अपने workers हैं, जाहिर है कि उनको lay off कर रहे हैं. अभी हमने सुना है कि काफ़ी millions जो है 2-3 million तो कम से कम इस वक्त फारिग हो चुके हैं. तो क्या ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि कुछ गवर्नमेंट जो है यानी government should also come to help them out, and employers should also be contributing to make their employees sustain, because they have a contribution in the development of their industry to earn them profits. When this is the time to sacrifice for for their own employees for the sake of humanity, and our religion also teaches us about for the welfare of employees and people. What do you say about it? Zahuraban Sahab.
इस सिलसिले में चूंकि पाकिस्तान वर्कर फेडरेशन ने इस सिलसिले में तकरीबन कोई कम से कम 70-80 सजेशन दी है. ये नया पेपर जो हमने रिवाइज इशू किया है कोरोना वायरस से मतलब, तो इसके अंदर बहुत ज्यादा सजेशंस हमने गवर्नमेंट को दी हैं. लेकिन दूसरी तरफ से गवर्नमेंट ने आज दिन तक सोशल प्रोटेक्शन में 1 रुपया भी कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं करती किसी तरफ से. वो एम्प्लॉयर ही कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है. जहां तक एम्प्लॉयर का ताल्लुक है, तो एम्प्लॉयर हमारे साथ वो है जो रजिस्टर्ड एम्प्लॉयर है, जिसके साथ हमारा सोशल डायलॉग है. हमारी इंडस्ट्री से मतलब बिल्कुल आपकी बात दुरुस्त है. मुनाफा पीछे भी वो कमाते रहे, बल्कि अभी एक ऐसी इंडस्ट्री है जिस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर वो एक यूनिट था, वो यूनिट बंद हो गया, लेकिन उन्होंने मास्क और मुख्तलिफ मामलात के ऊपर इतने ऑर्डर मिल गए, जिस ऑर्डर की वजह से उन्होंने 4 और खोलने पड़े उन्हें. नो डाउट SOPs वो कर रहे हैं, मुनाफे कमा रहे हैं, मुनाफे का मुख्तलिफ तरीकाकार है. लेकिन असल मसला ये है कि कोई आदमी भी मुनाफा जो है, आज मल्टीनेशनल कंपनियों के मुनाफे देखें, आज वो मुल्कों को खरीद सकते हैं, ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस है, लेकिन उनके सप्लाई चेन के अंदर वो कभी भी ख्याल नहीं करेंगी कि वर्कर को वो करें. बहरहाल मेरे ख्याल में, चूंकि मुझे अगली मीटिंग में जाना है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग ये आपका सब्जेक्ट है, उसमें भी यही चीजें डिस्कशन में आएंगी. तो इंशाल्लाह फिर मुलाकात होगी, क्योंकि मैं ऑलरेडी पहले से बहुत लेट हो गया.
बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक यू सो मच Zahuraban साहब. जनरल सेक्रेटरी Pakistan Workers Foundation was talking about the role of employers, government, and worker federation. And I think Saghir Bukhari sir from ILO Pakistan will be with us to answer some of our questions when they arise and they are asked by the participants. Now I would like to go to Rome, FAO headquarters, and I think Ariane, she is with us. Ariane Genthon, Program Officer, Child Labor in Agriculture, FAO Rome headquarters, is with us. And I would definitely, she will be deliberating upon her sector and the interventions done across the globe. My question would be definitely, I believe like you will be concluding with the COVID impact in the agriculture as well and overall scenario as well. And definitely because we know 71% of child labor is in the agriculture sector, if I'm not wrong.
You are correct.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Ariane Genthon. Now the mic is with you, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed. Good morning to everyone. Here it is very early. It's 8 and something. I'm very pleased to be with you, colleagues of Pakistan, and I will do my best to give you a different perspective regarding child labor, so more the perspective of the agricultural sectors and food security, and what can be done in terms of solution to address also child labor. And I will try to give you a bit of picture of worldwide what is happening in terms of typical situation of child labor in agriculture, and what we think as FAO can be done from the side of agricultural stakeholders, players, and a big, large-scale agricultural program. So, as my colleague Ingrid said, indeed, this year's the theme about the World Day Against Child labor is sadly about the devastating impact of the COVID-19, and especially the socio-economic impact that the crisis, the pandemic will have, and that will affect children. Unfortunately, it is likely to exacerbate the number of children in child labor at large, but also, and maybe especially in agriculture. So as FAO, you know that our mandate is to achieve a world free from hunger, where food and agriculture contribute to improving the living standards of all, but especially the poorest. And all of that in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable manner. And all work towards the elimination of child labor is an integral part of our goal to reduce rural poverty, because child labor, unfortunately, is a cause and a consequence of rural poverty. So as our host kindly reminded us, the latest global estimates that show that child labor is overwhelmingly concentrated in agriculture. It means worldwide about 110 million children, boys and girls, aged 15, between the age of 5 and 17, that are found in agriculture. I'm not sure you know, but for FAO, the definition of agriculture is quite large, because it means crop farming, livestock, forestry, fisheries, capture fisheries, but also aquaculture. And so children are actually found in all those sectors, performing tasks that are absolutely not appropriate for their age. And something also that I wanted to add with respect to the global data is that unfortunately in the sector of agriculture, the data have increased. So over the decades, there have been slow but steady decline of the numbers of child laborers. So we went from 168 to 152 in 2017, so before the crisis. But in agriculture, unfortunately, we went up from 98 million to 108 million. And so with the crisis, unfortunately, we have a situation that is worsened, and that is likely to be especially worsened in the sector of agriculture, because the spread of the crisis continues to take a toll on agro-businesses, on agricultural value chain, on the consumption of food products, and so on food production systems. And as our colleague from ILO, the director of ILO Pakistan said, indeed, the access to schools in rural communities worldwide is even more difficult for children living in rural areas now with a spread of COVID-19. And I'm afraid it is also the case in Pakistan. So the livelihoods, household incomes, and learning opportunities are being very hardly hit. There is an ongoing socioeconomic decline, and they have particular consequences on those who produce essential food and agricultural products. There is also the issue of movement restriction that is caused by the outbreak, and that puts children even more at risk, because unfortunately in times of crisis and where movements are restricted, children are the ones on which usually families rely to be a bit less visible to move around and carry out the work, and maybe ensure part of the income that is sadly missing. And so to ensure also food security, because it is clear that hunger and food insecurity are very, very powerful drivers behind child labor. So the lack of access to social protection, the protection for vulnerable groups, such as smallholder farmers and the informal workers now in the sector of agriculture, but also rural youth, migrant workers in the sector of agriculture, since we know that the sector of agriculture is highly seasonal and relying on migrant workers. All that, all of those groups would be heavily impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And given the fact that they were already in a difficult situation in terms of food insecurity, hunger, and extreme poverty, they now face even more dire conditions. So poor small-scale producers and farmers have often what we call, I wanted to explain to you now, why in the end small-scale producers rely on child labor, and what's the logic behind the mechanic, let's say, behind. As FAO, we have observed that they have what we call an economic and functional dependency on child labor. And what we mean by that parents need their children to work because they are too poor, and so they rely on children to either bring back additional income or to help them produce on the farm. And so that's the part of the functional dependency, because the way they produce food or agricultural products is very demanding in terms of labor workforce. And sometimes either there is no one else to help out, or the workforce is not affordable for them, and so they have to rely on children to produce that food. And so that's why children are found in child labor situation and very hazardous forms of child labor. We know worldwide, and it is very likely to be also the case in Pakistan, but child labor happens mainly in the lower tier of agriculture and food supply chain, so really at the production level. And it is where children, unfortunately, are less visible and harder to reach. Unfortunately, some solutions that we usually apply to tackle, not to address child labor, do not work with very well. So, for instance, the case of labor enforcement, and labor law, well, this is of course extremely important to have adequate labor laws, and that they are respected, known, and applied. But in the case of production and agriculture in rural areas, it becomes really a challenge, and it is very important that it is complemented by other kind of interventions to really address the root causes of child labor, because we need to enable all farmers, the small-scale producers, to overcome that dependency on child labor. So some solutions that we have applied in other countries are to support smallholder farmers, and including women, in their effort of self-organization, because very often they are not enough self-organized, and they don't know, and they are not able to reach economies of scale and to strengthen their collective and representative voices. And that way, they had also a better position in the market and in price negotiation of their products. To defeat hunger, promote sustainable agriculture, and eradicate child labor in agriculture, all of that is really intertwined. And we need to promote good agricultural practices that allow smallholder farmers to increase their resilience to economic shock and to natural disasters. We can help so by increasing protecting better the livelihood of small-scale farmers, by proposing alternative livelihoods, complementing activities that will complement their income, etc. To tackle hazardous work, in particular in agriculture, we can promote the shift to safer agricultural practices. Like we know that very often, and I have observed, unfortunately, that it is also the case in some parts of Pakistan, that there is still a heavy use of what we call hazardous pesticides that have a very, very detrimental effect on the human health of everyone, but particularly on those of children, because children are not small adults. And so if they are exposed to tasks and chemicals in particular, that they will have a long-lasting effects and very worse effects than on adults. So by promoting that, we do we reach two different scopes. We protect children, we protect farmers, and we protect the planet, because we try to prevent the degradation of soils. Agricultural programs should help continue helping more to reduce family dependency on child labor by reducing also the work burden. So as I was saying, unfortunately in agriculture, very often the work is very labor intensive and very time demanding. And so by facilitating the adoption of simple technologies or even just changes in practice, we can decrease the burden that is very often, by the way, on the shoulders of women in agriculture. And that burden has often an impact on the demand for child labor. I will conclude just by saying that climate change, and I'm sure that it is something that is also very much discussed in Pakistan, unfortunately threatens a lot for productivity of smallholders, but it has also an impact on child labor, because the lack of productivity or the scarcity of natural resources means food insecurity and the application of negative coping mechanisms such as child labor. And so those programs need to be sensitive to child labor. And a typical example, for instance, of child labor is very young children and very often girls fetching water for domestic use, but also agricultural use. And so by let's say, decreasing water scarcity, it would mean to prevent children walking very long distances and be exposed to potential abuse by doing so, and taking so less risk to collect water. And we can improve that. We can really do more about water scarcity and other issues linked with environmental degradation and climate change. And by doing so, by improving the environmental sustainability of value chain, we can also help address child labor. I will conclude, because there are other colleagues from FAO, and that they are based in Pakistan, and that it would be much more contextually relevant what they will say than what I am saying. But just have one request for, in general, my colleagues. Turning back to the important point that was raised about the knowledge available and the data available about child labor in Pakistan, and it is indeed sadly outdated, and there is that very good and that must be really that we must be thankful for, or from the government of Pakistan, supported by UNICEF and ILO, to collect more up-to-date and disaggregated data on child labor in Pakistan. But I have a plea, is that to really generate data on agriculture that is well disaggregated per sector, because very often the data that is generated by child labor in the sector of agriculture is just on agriculture at large. However, it's not enough to help us tailor responses and efficient responses to child labor if we do not know exactly in which crops or in which subsector, if children are herding animal, if they are contributing to rice production, etc. We have to implement a different solution. So the presence of those data, the generation of those data is really key. Now I thank you for your attention, and I will unfortunately have to leave you in a few minutes because I have to go for another interview. And but I really wish you a very good debate today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ariane, for your wonderful initial talk. I would just like to ask one thing, that what are the alternative strategies to combat child labor in agriculture that FAO is taking up? Just in bullet points, if like you can tell us.
Yes, thank you, Munir. So very often when we talk about child labor, obviously we talk about our colleagues and the stakeholders that are working towards the protection of children, or we are talking about, of course, the great role that labor stakeholders have to play. But as FAO, we think also agricultural stakeholders actually have really a strong role to play. So for instance, alternatives are about sensitizing and educating agricultural stakeholders about child labor. And unfortunately, there is still little understanding and sometimes confusion now about what is child labor for stakeholders at large, but especially among agricultural stakeholders, because everyone who has grown in rural areas know that it is a part of a normal upbringing, to contribute to tasks on the but the issue is about differentiating what is a task that is helping a child to grow, let's say, healthily, on the farm, and to learn and have that transfer of knowledge about agriculture that is very good and healthy, but to differentiate that from what is actually very harmful for not only the community at large, because children that are having their health being put at risk so early on, you don't see the consequences immediately, but you will see later on.
Thank you, ma'am. Any participant, if like to ask any question to Ms. Ariane? Any participant like to ask any question?
Not a question, Munir sir. Thank you, Ariane. Excellent presentation. Just wanted to add that in rural areas, one bigger challenge that now we can...
Aftab Sahab, I will come to you afterwards. If you have a question at this moment, you can ask. For comments,
just a point that we have to bring in the locust swarm as well, because the loss of crops, resultant poverty, that would also increase child labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aftab Sahab. Thank you, ma'am. I think there is no question from...
I have a question. Excuse me.
Please ask question.
I do have a question.
Introduce yourself. Aisha Khan, please.
Yes. My question is with regard to how do you differentiate between child labor and child work within the agriculture sector?
Yes, Ms. Ariane.
Thank you very much for your question. So FAO, of course, refers to the ILO conventions, no? And the ILO conventions, I think, are quite clear in the principles, at least to apply to any sector. So there is the question of the age range, and the question also of the hazard and the impact on the health and the development of the child. So a task that is educative, that is performed under the supervision of an adult, and depending also on the age of the child, now we have to be quite, let's say, reasonable. It is very clear, I think, to all of us that a child age 5, 6, or 7 years old is not able to carry the same responsibility than a 12, 13, or 14 years old. So that is the kind of reasoning, let's say, that is applied to agricultural sector and tasks. Unfortunately, as you know, the agriculture sector is quite large and involves a lot of tasks. So I do not have an answer that apply to all tasks in all subsectors, but those are that we have applied to do that difference.
Okay, thank you.
Any
other questions?
I have a question.
Please.
I have a question. Thank you so much, Ariane.
This is Bela. Yeah, please go ahead.
This is Bela Raza Jamil. Thank you so much, Ariane. And I think the way you've highlighted the agriculture sector in particular is of great importance to Pakistan. My question is that in your experiences, especially in countries like Pakistan, where there is a culture of silence when it comes to sharing disaggregated data on agriculture sector and child labor, how is the treatment successful in other countries where a good deal of rigorous analysis is done on child labor and agricultural sector? In Pakistan, if we raise it, one, we do not have rigorous data, and number two, we'd love to hear what are good practices from other countries.
Thank you very much. So what we did, because I am very sorry, but as a Dr. Shakil, no, I come only once to your country, so I'm certainly not over experiences that I have in countries where I have visited more often and over the years, over a long-term period. Let's say that in most countries, what you say is true. It doesn't apply only to Pakistan. People in general in agriculture, it's a taboo to talk about child labor because people think that it's normal that children are helping out on the farms. They do not manage to do the difference, to see the difference between what is actually helping out and what is child labor and what is detrimental to children and to everyone. So what we do is usually when there is no possibility to have a national child labor survey that will include those questions very well disaggregated by subsectors, if it is FAO going, we go for what we call case study. And there we will select one value chain or one subsectors, especially where we know that the plague is especially important to watch, or one geographical area of a country where we know, unfortunately, that the numbers are very high, we suspect it. And we go there and we collect data, but more never using the word child labor, for instance. We will always ask question about understanding more what is the agricultural work for that subsectors and for that value chain. So really trying to see how that the agricultural cycle work for that crop or for that subsector, and understanding what role play children in all those differentiated tasks along the agricultural cycle. And if you ask that question that way, you are able to overcome resistances and then educate people about what is not okay and what is okay to include children with.
Thank you so much, Ariane, for your deliberations and wonderful talk about child labor in agriculture. And I believe there is no more question, and we also have to go for another engagement.
Yes.
If there is
Thank you, Munir.
Yeah,
just a few words of conclusion. I saw that there were some points about locust and unfortunately the attack and the disaster that it will have on our livelihoods. And I didn't mention that, but yes, of course, it is part of it is also a crisis, and it will also have an impact, and unfortunately it's likely to increase the number of child laborers. Thank you, Munir, and sorry for interrupting.
No, it's pleasure to have you. Last words on your deliberations. And before you leave, I would request you to send like a 200-250 words quote that you would like to get printed in the national media. You can email this to Mer, and she is online as well. Yeah.
Very well. Thank you very much.
I think Mer is also listening to you. Okay, and thank you. It's wonderful to have you. And
thank you.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Munir Sahab, I shall have to leave at about 10 to 12 because I have another large national campaign starting.
Okay, fine. So you can go ahead with your deliberations, and you will be speaking about alternate strategies to engage children. Yeah, please. Bella Raza Jamil is Chief Executive Officer Idara Ilmo Idara
Talimo Agahi.
Idara Talimo Agahi, and you are one of the two founders of Children Festival as well.
Literature festivals.
Literature festivals for children. Yeah, please go ahead, ma'am.
So I think just wanted to say very quickly that Idara Talimo Agahi has been working in this area since 2000. My own engagement in child rights and child labor has been since forever, but particularly since 92 when I started working with bonded labor, both in the carpet weaving industry as well as the brick kilns industry when I used to work for UNICEF. But one, I think something to frame this discussion is the large numbers we are talking about, which we talk about anecdotally and forget. Now, if we look at the labor force surveys of Pakistan and look at the 10 to 14 age group, as well as the 10 to and the 15 to 19 age group, the numbers are huge. And so numbers from public sector and administrative data are important to see how large this is, including, of course, what the ministry says of Federal Ministry of Education and Professional Training of 19.1 million children now who are out of school, out of which 70% are those who are above the age of 10 at post-primary level. Now, obviously, the fierceness of all of this and the way the children remain unprotected, we all know, so there's no point talking about it. But the only thing is that pain is too strong. The total violation and violence against children is nothing short of that. It's just violence against children at all levels is also an issue of denial of fundamental rights. And please, when we're talking about fundamental rights, I am really referring, and I wish we could get this together, this is the alternative. that if we are violating Article 9 of the Constitution in terms of getting children registered at birth, for which various initiatives are going on, but it's not good enough. But with such important people on the panel, there's a huge request to NADRA through the ministry, Interior Ministry and Home Departments to seriously have the child registration card in place as a smart card, so that that could be referenced whenever the violation is going to take place as an employer or a place of work, or through early child marriages, or being denied education in institutions. So the child registration card is your first protective shield for the children. Why can't NADRA do this as successfully as it is done for CNIC? And I believe parliamentarians are desperately needed, as are other influencers. So the first one is Article 9 of the Constitution. The second, of course, is the 11, which is on child trafficking and slavery and forced labor. And the third one is 25A, which is only was inserted in 2010 in the 18th Amendment of right to education for all children 5 to 16 years of age. Now, 10 years down the road, we do not have that right. We have the legislation, not notified, not implemented. Now, that is a massive alternate, especially during COVID times. As we are doing all this work, it is important. Is the government serious about it? If it is, then let us all get together to ensure that children are in school. Today we begin, not just as Idara, because the time has gone to work as solo flyers. We need to work in alliances. Since 2000, we've worked in alliances. Today, we are now launching a national campaign, which is going to be led by child champions of 10 to 18 years of age, or even 20. And the idea being that these adolescent kids need to be part, just like Malala, just like other children who are leading climate change, like Greta Thunberg, etc. And there are many like this in Pakistan. It's time that we had children talk about this and give them agency, because they're very bright. They are the ones who are taking this forward. I think when you're armed with facts and figures, when you've got the evidence, when you're trying to see how to get children to become their own voice of protection, when they go to the Prime Minister to say, your maiden speech talked so much about issues of children, their lack of nutrition, their stunting, all of that was actually beautifully poised and precise by the Prime Minister, then why this slacking? Why this lack of implementation? And it is important, therefore, to start the children take this issue up. We are profiling children in a very serious manner, getting the permissions and consent from their parents to be a part of this whole campaign. But I think their demands are going to be the ones that will shape the issue of reducing child labor. In my 30 years of work, I confess that I have not been successful in being able to reduce child labor the way we want. And with pandemics like COVID-19 coming, it's going to get even worse. So issue is not that a few activists do things to be able to make ourselves heard, for a few laws to be passed, which makes us feel very happy, for the Zainab Alert bill, etc., etc. The time for action is now. And I do want to share with you the materials we have prepared, Munir Saab and all the panelists here. If you would allow me, we can send you everything so that you can popularize it. But do remember, as I had made the continuum in 2006 for ILO and UNICEF, and the continuum is of child domestic labor, the continuum of violence, it goes every time from mild to severe. And there are overlaps between trafficking and bondage and sexual abuse, and finally death and murder is just there. It is extremely severe. So we have two major programs of alternate and accelerated learning for all out-of-school children, which have gone through external evaluations, the Siani Seheli program and the Chalo Paro Baro. I'm happy to share those with you. What is needed right now is action which can be evidence-based. And ITA takes great pride in being an evidence-based organization which has taken the largest assessment survey for children in Pakistan on deprivation and inclusion and learning called the Asar Pakistan. Today, in the Economic Survey of Pakistan, Chapter 10, a whole 2 pages is dedicated to the survey and the results. We are an evidence-based organization, but we believe today we need children to fight their battle, and we support them all along, all the way at local, national, and global levels. And I believe we've got lots of you to support us at every point. There are too many children in Pakistan, 12 million, 14 million, 19 million. It's ridiculous. This cannot go on. The nation has to survive, and we cannot survive when we are neither a state nor a society. We're not even a population. The population who cannot take care of children cannot be sustained in itself. That's the next generation we all need to invest in. Let's join hands, and please permit me to share all the materials. We want you to participate and give a hand to our children, the child champions of Pakistan, who will rise in front of you and take their claims and entitlements straight to the Prime Minister and all the powers and forces that matter. And please finally remember, 72% of informal sector being part of the production cycle and the production chain of this supply chain of this country means that children are more exposed. When you're admitting yourself that 72% of productivity in Pakistan lies in the informal sector, well, that's where the children are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vila Raza Jamil Sahaba, for your contribution. I also have President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Shafiq Chuadhary Saab, as I mentioned, is senior technical advisor to National Parliamentary Task Force on SDGs. I will come to Chuadhary Saab as well. Before I think going to Chuadhary Saab, I should invite Sajjad Cheema Saab, who is the Executive Director of SPARK, Society for the Protection of Rights of the Child, because they release every year State of the Children report. And I would like to have some statistics from Sajjad Cheema Saab before going to the senior advisor, technical advisor to Parliamentary Task Force, Chaudhry Shafiq Saab. Chaudhry Shafiq Saab, are you there? Okay.
Ji, bilkul, Munir Saab, I'm listening to your beautiful words, mashallah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's have some statistics from Sajjad Cheema Saab, Chaudhary Saab, then I'll come to you.
Okay, sir.
Because you are, at this moment, I believe you are representing Pakistan government and the parliament. And you should listen to different people, what they have to say. Sajjad Cheema Saab, mic is to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for inviting and providing me an opportunity to talk here. Basically, if you are talking to only for to the extent of statistics, as you mentioned that we are producing the state of Pakistan children every year, and every year we try to find out the figures and how many children are involved in child labor. But unfortunately, there is no exact figures available in Pakistan, basically, as you were also talking about, and Bela also shared some facts and figures, but those are estimates, basically. And you were discussing that there is a child labor survey initiated by the Ministry of Human Rights in collaboration with UNICEF last year, and that is also an process. But the Bela shared here that around, according to UNICEF, around 30% of total number of children in Pakistan are involved in labor and between the age of 5 to 16 years. This is also near to around, there was a figure of 12 million children are involved in labor. And on the ILO website, it was mentioned that around 8 point something million children are involved in child labor. But basically, what the problem is in Pakistan is the mindset. We have laws somewhere, and in Pakistan, like some provinces have adopted some laws to prohibit child labor. But the important thing is that the most worst form of child labor and modern day slavery, like child domestic labor, is not covered anywhere. And we do not know that how many children are involved in child domestic labor. However, SPARK conducted a study back in 2000, I think that is an old one, but according to that study, every third household was having child labor in Islamabad. And if you are talking about Islamabad, in Islamabad, there is no law to prohibit child labor at all. There is a law called Employment of Children Act 1991 that is not to prohibit child labor, but that is to regulate the child labor. But at provincial level, Punjab adopted a law. The age limit is 15 there, in other provinces is 14. That is in contradiction with the constitution. As Bella mentioned, the Article 25A, according to that, the article, the education is a fundamental right. Like age is 5 to 16. And if, according to the constitution, children are, should be in school till the age of 16, then you can say that the labor laws are in contradiction because they're allowing children after 14 to be employed. And where there are laws, why those laws are being implemented? Because figures are going higher and higher. Basically, the reason is that the implementers do not believe in the issue. They do not believe the child labor is an issue in Pakistan. They believe that this is only due to the poverty. But I think that poverty is due to child labor, because children are being employed. They are not being, paid salary good enough. And on the other hand, their parents are not getting jobs. And that's why I believe that child labor is causing poverty.
Right. Sajjad Juma Sahab, we have all statements and the state of the children report with us as well. What I would like to ask you, do you see any reduction in child labor over the years, or it is surging over the years?
Unfortunately, no reduction. It has been, as you know, in the media, the cases are being reported like regarding the child labor. And on the other hand, because this is a matter of demand and supply, child labor is cheaper enough. That's why there is a huge demand for the child labor. And that's why it is observed, and somewhere it was, study that Pakistan is the only country in the world where child labor is enhancing. Numbers are going higher. And we don't believe that numbers are going down because there are no actions. However, there are some international commitments and there are some recommendations, but we do not observe any action to reduce child labor. And I was talking about why there is no action.
Fine. Another question, Sajjad Juma Sahab. Do you think laws are implemented in letter and spirit? Are you satisfied with the laws and its implementation?
Basically, as I was talking about the laws, that in Islamabad there is no law to prohibit child labor, and where in provinces there are laws, they are not being implemented. That is the reason that the child labor is not in the control. Laws are here. Laws are weak enough. Like if in Punjab or Sindh there is law that is prohibiting child employment only to the extent of 14 years. On the other hand, Article 25, I discovered. And secondly, we believe that we define the child as under 18. We expect that if you want your child to get, its fundamental to access its fundamental right by accessing education, then you have to amend your laws accordingly.
Okay.
And okay.
Thank you. Sajjad Juma Sahab, let's have other participants speak, and then I'll come to you once again after having initial conversation and talk from other participants as well. And definitely participants would also have some questions to ask to you. Now I would like to go to Dr. Shakil Sahab, FAO, Islamabad. Dr. Shakil Sahab, do you hear me? Dr. Shakil Sahab.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay.
Very good.
We have had really details and how children are engaged in the agriculture. Specifically, I would like to ask, what is the situation in Pakistan? How many children are engaged and how they are vulnerable to hazards, and what Pakistan government and partners are doing to do. 3 points, very briefly, if you go ahead about it.
Okay, actually, I think rather than giving this detail, I feel that it is very important that I should intimate or inform the group that what the activity FAO Pakistan has started during the last 2 years, and I think Ariane, our colleague from FAO headquarters, has comprehensively explained about the situation of child labor in agriculture sector. And therefore, and Pakistan is of course not an exception to this. This issue is also over here. In case of child labor, because this is like, you can say, a new area where FAO is working, and our main effort is to streamline child labor concept in various development initiatives. Therefore, we have organized mini training workshop for the professionals to understand this concept during this year. But at the same time, ILO and FAO Pakistan has joined hands to have this career cotton project, where some activities has been created, and we understand that we clearly focus on this, that agricultural stakeholder has an important role in ending child labor, because they have particular capacities to support and reach rural and more vulnerable population, including smallholder producers for food for FAO. Then the main focus is on the mainstreaming of child labor concept in agriculture development initiatives. In this regard, we have, during the last 2 years, with the support of ILO, greater awareness has been created among the farmer groups, associations, and at the various...
Shakil Saab.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir,
yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt you, first of all. And this is a description of the activities that you are doing. But I'm more interested to have our on-ground situation. My question was...
yes, but you see, I mean, those questions somehow has been addressed by Ariane, you know, that in how this, because this is really some system which we have just started.
Sir, excuse me, Shakil Sahab,
we are working.
Do you have, sir, my humble request is, do you have any statistics that how many children are engaged in?
No, we don't have a statistic. Actually, we have started. I mean, the reason is that, as you already told very explicitly, that the labor survey and those figures, the work is in progress. And there is no separate mechanism that we...
My other question is...
No, but in this regard, we have started a study with the support of
Harry. That's great.
Which is on the gender role and related work burden and their effects on child labor in agriculture in Punjab. And the focus is that to understand that how this from production to harvesting, how the children are affected and how much hazard work is imposed on them. You know, we have activities like this. And the other thing is that which we are working actually at the field level, and there was a plan that we will start farmer field approach, where actually the experts, they work at the field level with the communities, with the women and the farmer groups, and educate them and create an awareness. And especially, I think this will be very important to the group to understand that, you know, this pesticide use, which is very important and is a very serious hazardous work, as an entry point to enter in the arena of child labor. FAO and ILO in the field, we have started to focus on this, and we are creating a visual facilitation guide to how to protect children, and this is at the final stage, and as soon as it will be ready, we will share with the people.
Shakil Sahab, in how many districts you are working now?
These are like 5 districts in Punjab and 2 in case of Sindh.
What are they? Districts in Punjab?
Like here in Khanewal, Multan, Bhavalpur, and Lodra. You know. In Punjab and 2 Yeah, Mirpur Khas. Yeah.
Mirpur Khas and
Umarkot.
And Umarkot, right. Thank you. Any question to Dr. Shakil Khan Sahab regarding child labor in agriculture in Pakistan? If some participant like to ask any further details. Any questions?
Sir, maybe I think about the locust. If they want, I can tell you.
Please go ahead very briefly, because we have large number of participants to speak on. Shakil Sahab, on locust.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the locust, because this is very important, and because this is a serious issue of food security, and if it is not controlled, then it has a very, very serious implication for not only for food security, but also for the sustainability of agriculture. Therefore, we are working with the government, with the Federal Department of Plant Protection, Provincial Agriculture Department, NDMA, and Ministry of National Food Security. And because this is like an elaborate system where the FAO first focus is to provide information about the and they give like forecast and about the current situation of locust. And
okay, Shakil Sahab, sorry to interrupt you again, because we are short of time and we have to go ahead. My question is, do you think Pakistan government's response is appropriate and in time, and the steps taken are in the right direction?
Yes, I think government has been, because it fully understands the serious implication it has on the food security and agriculture sector. Therefore, all the resources have been mobilized, and very concerted efforts are in progress to curtail this menace.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shakil Khan from FAO Islamabad for your contribution. And now I would like to go to Sialkot. Do we have Muhammad Ashraf Malik Sahab, President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with us? Sialkot. Malik Muhammad Ashraf Sahab, do you hear me? Malik Muhammad Ashraf Sahab, President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry, do you hear me? We move on to our next speaker. Locust is a very a serious issue with us, but we also have some serious issues of child labor and their engagement. Whenever I go to mountain areas, I find different forms of child labor. We have Aisha Khan with us, CEO, Hashu Foundation, working in the mountain areas for the development of youth and engaging communities into a very positive and productive way. Aisha Khan, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Would you like to tell us what is the situation of child labor in mountain areas?
Yes, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. And yes, thank you very much for readjusting your camera.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
All right.
And I would also request other participants when they come on the camera, and they should fix up their frame. Thank you. Please go ahead, Aisha Khan Saiba.
Gigi, so first of all, very quickly, Hashu Foundation, as you know, was established as a trust. Excuse my voice. I have a bit of... Was established as a trust in 1988, so we're more than 30 years old, and we've been working for child rights, if you will, in the education sector, in health and nutrition sector, and through our social welfare interventions. We work across Pakistan. Our forte is in the mountain areas. In 2019, Hashu Foundation was elected as the secretariat for NECG, so that's the National Action Coordination Group. It's a chapter of SCCI. SCCI is a South Asia initiative to eliminate violence against children. And child labor is one of the main themes that SCCI, which is an is a SARC apex body. It's an intergovernmental body. We work with UN agencies, with civil society organizations. We also work with various groups, including child groups. Hashu Foundation, since we started, we were established as a secretariat for the National Action Coordination Group, we established children clubs, and with Sahil, together with Sahil, we trained children we educated them in with regard to their rights and how to protect themselves from child sexual abuse, and how to educate other people. So they've worked in schools. So this is about 2 years ago that we've initiated this process. Again, as someone said over here, that so much more needs to be done. The NACG has about 1,000 members. We have provincial chapters. We revived a chapter in Sindh, so that provincial chapter is working for child rights. There's a Child Protection Authority in Sindh. We have a provincial chapter in Punjab headed by Dr. Naeem Zafar, and they've had tremendous achievements within these 5 thematic areas that includes child rights. We have a provincial chapter in Balochistan headed by Mr. Behram Nehri, and we have a provincial chapter in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and also in Gilgit-Baltistan headed by Mr. Karamatullah. So the provincial chapter in Gilgit-Baltistan in the mountain areas comprises of 42 members. We have worked on child rights with collaboration of UNICEF. The focus has mainly been on legislation. There is a Child's Protection Committee. More recently, there's a Child Protection Unit by the government. What the government did of Gilgit-Baltistan is they gave an additional charge of child protection to social welfare officers. So as was said earlier, steps have been taken. There are, in fact, across the country, across Pakistan, there are 108 laws, child-related laws. So this is from a recent study by UNICEF. Unfortunately, what we see is that these laws do not comply with international standards, nor do they conform to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, as Pakistan is a signatory to that. And the study further says that out of these, only 24% are fully compliant with the Child Rights Convention, 41% are partly compliant, and 16% are weakly compliant. Now, this is the case in in Pakistan, where there's access to parliamentarians and to the government and everything. And I agree with you when you mentioned earlier that the dilemma with regard, not just child rights, but everything, is not the fact that legislation is not there. The dilemma is that whatever legislation is there, however weak it is not implemented, and nor is there compliance. Yeah. I think in Pakistan...
may I request you, sorry to interrupt you, but to focus on mountain areas, specifically. Okay. Specifically, my question my question is, can you let us know what are the worst forms of child labor in our mountain areas, and how they could be dealt with? What efforts should be done to eliminate those?
Sir, mountain areas, as you probably know, and this needs to be underlined and fully appreciated, because of the mountainous terrain, it is isolated, it's remote. There is a higher cost of doing any social development activity in mountain areas as compared to the plain areas. So if you're establishing a school over there, if you want teachers over there, if so there's like this, and across the world, actually. And when we look at GB, this has been a challenge. Now, maybe in the 70s or 80s, there was a fair amount of investment in the mountain areas, but not now. First and foremost was what is required across Pakistan, and especially in the mountain areas, is that children need to be enrolled in schools. They need to. Another thing closely related to when we speak of child labor, child rights, is that you know, women need to be educated, empowered, and informed about nutrition so that they can look after their children and protect their children, because that is the primary unit that looks after the child. The household, and within the household is the mother. But if she has like about 10 children, whatever, she herself has weak health, then the children's vulnerability increases. Health of the people in mountain areas is a challenge. There is an economic challenge. There is a Gilgit-Baltistan, climate change, melting glaciers, all kinds of hazards, health hazards. Again, the COVID pandemic. Now, if we speak of child labor in Pakistan, as we know, there are 5 main areas, and that is the case in Gilgit-Baltistan as well. Just allow me to complete. Hazardous work is in the automobile. What we have seen, Hashu Foundation has seen, for example, in Dayamir district, in the automobile industry, you know, low pay, like children, they work for the livelihoods of their household. They're not paid very much, and you have X number of children. So boys are often engaged, you know, they're encouraged to work with different businesses. So automobile industry or workshops, they work over there, and this is, you know, that's hazardous to their health. Or they're just again in the agriculture sector as well. This is what we have seen. So there are multiple issues, multiple challenges. Another thing is that people in the mountain areas such as Chhatral often they come down country to work as either in domestic service or in restaurants. You know, they're attached as apprentices, and then they come from a very young age. Even in Karachi, you'll find them, people from GBC, from Gilgit-Baltistan, Chhatral, and they are attached to adults. And you know, there's no monitoring, there's no check and balance, there's no implementation of law. So it isn't as if the challenge of child labor is just focused in the mountainous region, but because of the challenges of the mountain environment, the terrain, and because of the low socioeconomic development, children often are sent to urban centers across Pakistan and attached, you know, as apprentices, as adults. And mind you, I want to flag this, and we've discussed this on several platforms. The definition of a child at provincial level is not what the global definition is. So there are many. As was said by, I think Sajjad Cheema Saab said it, you know, that in the constitution, children under the age of, above the age of 14 it's acceptable for them to work. In fact, they are encouraged to work. And that was one of my questions with regard to people being able to appreciate the difference between child work and child labor. So child labor is any kind of, because, you know, children working and being engaged and helping, whether in the house or, you know, their community, that's healthy, you know, it promotes growth. But labor is anything that is hazardous to the physical and mental health of children. And unfortunately, because of the socioeconomic vulnerability of Gilgit-Baltistan, the children there are equally, or you know, are more vulnerable than the children in down country. So there was a lot to share.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Aisha Khan Saba, for sharing your observations about child labor.
Yes, I have.
Raju from Nepal. Please go ahead. To whom you want to ask question? Raju from Nepal. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I think there's a connection issue.
Raju, can you speak?
There are many difficulties in the mountain region regarding the child protection and child education. Same as in Nepal also. I think the same, I mean, in geographical location.
Asha Khan, can you please?
I want to very quickly, I think this is an urgent point. Related to child labor is child trafficking. And because Nepal is speaking, I also want to flag this, that often children are trafficked from the mountain areas to the rest of the country for various horrible activities.
Raju is also going to ask some question. Raju, please go ahead.
I have one question with ma'am. How is affected the child education in mountain region in terms of food insecurity? For example, just I want to share in 2 lines in the situation of Nepal. Around there will be snow and no education, and if there is, the snow is going less, the children used to go to college in the Himalayan region. So there is very, very problem of the children's education in mountain region. So how is the situation in your working area? Just I want to know.
Okay, Raju, before you, I would like to ask one thing. What is situation in Nepal after COVID-19, after the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think it is same all over the world and same in South, in this Asia region. As we know, especially the poor community children and working in the child labor situation, there is very, very big problem. For example, during the 2-month situation, there are around 1,200 suicide cases, among them 200 are 18 children.
200 suicide case.
Suicide cases. These are children. Among the 1,200 cases, 200 are children. And that is very big problem. And another, due to the poverty of in the family, the many children are being malnourished and there is no access of, immunization, and due to the close of the school, there is increasing the child abuse case. For example, rape cases are increasing and murder cases are increasing due to the, conflict between the family members. The children are being affected. So, many children, they are going to their hometown, working with their family, even 6-7 days. That is very, very big problem. And as an NGO, we are also working to address some of this problem, especially in the Kathmandu and eastern part of Nepal. We are working with street and urban poor children. And so the condition is very bad, regarding the, due to the COVID-19 to the children.
Okay. Thank you, Raju, for your comments. And what was your question to Asha Khan? Asha Khan, have you heard the question Raju asked?
Yes, his question was with regard to education.
Yeah.
And so what you said about food insecurity and the challenges, it's the same in Gilgit-Baltistan. Having said that, there are 10 districts in Gilgit-Baltistan, and depending on the roads and the infrastructure, and so some districts, some areas, for example, Nagar and Hunza, where the roads are better, where mobility is easier, the situation is better. But there are some districts which are very vulnerable, such as Ghizar, and I mentioned Dayamir, Chalas. Chalas also, then there are some cultural things that further aggravate the opportunity for children. So even within a very small province such as Gilgit-Baltistan, because of the the different subcultures, the ethnicities, it's a challenge. But primarily, it is the physical challenges of mountain areas, the terrain, which prevents children from being able to attend schools. But having said that, it is also the fact that the government, because there are so many problems for the government, across in a developing country like Pakistan, mountain areas are often neglected. Yeah, that's
okay. Thank you, Aisha Khan Sahaba. Before Dr. Sima, can you hold for a moment, please? Let me see, like, if Chaudhry Shafiq Sahab with us, or President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce. I don't see him.
I have to leave. Munir Sahab.
Chaudhry Sahab, you have heard many speakers right now, and they have pointed out situation in agriculture and in different sectors. The situation of child labor. You are the senior advisor, senior technical advisor to Parliamentary Taskforce and SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Chaudhry Sahab, what parliamentarians are thinking of this specific sector, child labor, into Sustainable Development Goals?
जी मनीष साहब बहुत शुक्रिया सबसे पहले तो let me congratulate you on holding this very important discussion forum and webinar on this very important and relevant topic, in fact one of the burning issues of which we as a society facing these days about the child exploitation.
Chaudhry साहब जरा कैमरा अपना फ्रेम जरा थोड़ा सा फिक्स कर लें, थोड़ा बेहतर कर लें. Yes, you look better now. You look better. Yeah, great.
सर जो शक्ल मुनीर साहब वही आएगी ना.
सर शक्ल की बात. Sir, it's not about शक्ल, it's about frame. Now it's
ठीक है.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
चलें ठीक है. और सजाद की मतलब शाने सा ना वीडियो बंद कर दी थी तो ऑडियो तो कम चला लिया उन्होंने, ठीक है. अच्छा खैर एनीवे सर, एक तो बहुत अच्छा आज की ये डिस्कशन हुई है. आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टू बी पार्ट ऑफ इट एंड on this very important international day. In fact, these international days give us an opportunity to reiterate our commitment toward addressing those specific issues. With respect to Child Labor Day, this is a very important opportunity on this day. What is the status, where we stand, where we should go in the future. So, इस दिन के हवाले से this is a very important day. हम अपने रीअफर्म कर रहे हैं अपनी जायजा लेने के बाद अपनी कमिटमेंट टुवर्ड्स एंडिंग चाइल्ड लेबर. अब पाकिस्तान में बड़ी बेला ने बात की, आयशा ने बात की सहवक के हवाले से, चीमा साहब ने बात की लॉस के हवाले से, और डिफरेंट यहाँ पर डिस्कशंस हुई. और आपने भी अपनी बात में बार बार कहा कि डाटा की कलेक्शन, आई फुली एग्री कि डाटा इज वेरी मच नीडेड फॉर क्रिएटिंग एविडेंस फॉर that particular social issue. लेकिन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू चाइल्ड लेबर मैं ये कहूँगा कि एविडेंस इज ऑलरेडी देयर. भी हमें चाहे 3 मिलियन हो, चाहे 1 मिलियन हो, चाहे 5 लाख हो, इस डिबेट के बगैर के कितने बच्चे चाइल्ड लेबर में हैं हमें अंदाजा है कि पाकिस्तान में ये इशू है. इसके लिए हमें किसी नए एविडेंस की या किसी नए डाटा की इसके लिए जरूरत नहीं है. हमें ये एस्टेब्लिश करने के लिए कि पाकिस्तान में ये इशू है या नहीं है. सो वी आर वेरी मच कन्विंस्ड एंड अवेयर एग्जिस्ट इन पाकिस्तान. वर्ल्ड फॉर्म ऑफ चाइल्ड लेबर भी मौजूद है, चाइल्ड डोमेस्टिक लेबर भी मौजूद है, और तैयबा केस या जोरा शाह केसेस के हवाले से दैट कीप ऑन सरफेसिंग अगेन एंड अगेन. जब ऐसे इश्यूज आते हैं सामने, जोरा शाह पिंडी वाला भी जो केस रिसेंट केस है चाइल्ड डोमेस्टिक लेबर का, वो आपके सामने है, जिसमें वो बच्ची 8 साल की उसको एक बदकिस्मती से मार दिया गया उसको टॉर्चर के नतीजे में. तैयबा तशद्दुद केस था कुछ अर्सा पहले जो इस्लामाबाद का जो केस था. तो ये सारी चीजें साबित करते हैं कि पाकिस्तान में कोई नई लंबी चौड़ी टेक्निकल रिसर्च की जरूरत नहीं है एविडेंस क्रिएट करने की. एविडेंस इज देयर, फिनोमेना इज देयर, प्रॉब्लम इज देयर. हाँ, क्वेश्चन क्या है जो आपने बार बार की कि पाकिस्तान की स्ट्रेटजी टुवर्ड्स रिस्पोंडिंग दीज इश्यूज क्या है बेसिकली.
यस,
तो वो देखिए वो प्रॉब्लमेटिक है. ہمیں اس کو ایکسیپٹ کرنا چاہیے. اگر ہماری اسٹریٹجی اور ریسپانس ہمارا ٹھیک ہوتا تو یہ ایشوز بار بار سامنے فیس نہ ہوتے. ایک یا دو یا چار کیسز میں اگر لیگل فریم ورک یا کرمنل جسٹس فریم ورک جو ہمارا جو سسٹم ہے یا ہمارے انسٹیٹیوشنل جو میکنزم ان پلیس ہیں ٹو ڈیل ود دا ایشوز آف چائلڈ پروٹیکشن چائلڈ پروٹیکشن, وہ اگر صحیح رسپانس کرتے تو یہ کیسز بار بار روانہ ہوتے ہیں. سیم گوز ود چائلڈ ابیوز کیسز ہوتے ہیں, ان کے بھی آپ کو پتہ کافی جو بچے چائلڈ ٹریفکنگ کا شکار ہوتے ہیں, دے آر یوزڈ فار دا کمرشل سیکشوئل ایکسپلائٹیشن ایز ویل ود ان دا باؤنڈریز, تو کراس باؤنڈریز بھی ہوتا ہے. تو یہ فیکچوئل پوزیشن ہے کہ ہمارا وہ والا جو لیگل فریم ورک ہے دیٹ از انسفیشینٹ, انکنسسٹنٹ, کنٹراڈکٹری ہے ڈیفینیشن کے حوالے سے, پرومس ٹو پرومس امپلیمنٹیشن کے حوالے سے ایز انڈیکیٹڈ بائی چیمہ صاحب اینڈ اسپیکر, بلکہ عائشہ نے بھی اس کا ذکر کیا. اچھا, اس کے بعد جو انسٹیٹیوشن میکنزم ان پلیس ہے دیٹ از انکنفیوزڈ اینڈ اور ان ایڈیکیٹ رسپانس ہے اس کا اباؤٹ دی ایشوز آف چائلڈ لیبر. آپ اسلام آباد میں نکل کے ابھی جا کے دیکھ لیجیے گا, تھوڑی دیر بعد آپ ابھی جا کے دیکھ لیجیے.
چودھری صاحب ذرا اپنا مائک دوبارہ آن کیجیے گا پلیز. چودھری شفیق صاحب مائک آن کریں اپنا. چودھری صاحب آپ کی آواز نہیں آ رہی, مائک آن کیجیے گا. آپ کا کوئی کنیکٹیوٹی کا ایشو ہو گیا ہے؟ میرا خیال ہے کہ چودھری صاحب از ڈسکنیکٹڈ. ناؤ آئی ووڈ لائک ٹو گو ٹو آفتاب عالم خان صاحب. چودھری صاحب ریکنیکٹ ہو گئے ہیں پلیز. چودھری صاحب ریکنیکٹ ہو گئے ہیں پلیز. چودھری صاحب اسٹیٹ آف جو سچویشن ہے چودھری شفیق صاحب وہ ہمیں بالکل اس وقت اندازہ ہے. اسپیسیفکلی مجھے یہ بتائیے کہ جو آپ کی نیشنل پارلیمانی ٹاسک فورس جو ہے وہ کون سے 2-4 کنکریٹ سٹیپس جو ہے وہ لے رہی ہے ٹوورڈز ایلیمینیٹنگ چائلڈ لیبر, جو بھی ورس فارمز ہیں وٹ ایور فارمز وی ہیو ان پاکستان. آپ کی ٹاسک فورس کے کون سے ایکشنز ایسے ہیں جو اس وقت ہونے جا رہے ہیں یا ہو رہے ہیں؟
منیر صاحب, میں نے پارلیمنٹ کے لیول کے اوپر اس کی اویئرنیس بہت اچھی ہے, بلکہ پارلیمنٹری ٹاسک فورس میں ہماری ون آف دا کی کمیٹیز ہم نے بنائی ہے آن چائلڈ رائٹس. اس کو مہناز عزیز صاحب ایم این اے ہیں, وہ اس کو ہیڈ کرتی ہیں, اور اس کے علاوہ ہر پارٹی سے اس کے اندر ریپرزنٹیشن موجود ہے. اس کے حوالے سے جو چائلڈ رائٹس کی لیجسلیشن کی اسٹڈی ہوئی ابھی ہم نے کچھ عرصہ پچھلے سال کی ہے, جن کا 108 لاز کا حوالہ کیا گیا. وہ اسٹڈی جو ہے بیسیکلی دیٹ واز under the ambit of this child rights committee of Taskforce. ہم نے ڈفرینٹ SDGs کے حوالے سے سب گروپ بنائے ہوئے ہیں, اور چائلڈ رائٹس میں مسئلہ یہ کہ کراس کٹنگ تھیم ہے. ہمارے کوئی 8-10 گولز ایسے ہیں اور 44 انڈیکیٹرز. جو SDGs کے 17 گول ہیں ان میں سے 169 ٹارگیٹس ہیں جو اچیو کرنے پوری دنیا نے. ان میں اس کو میئر کرنے میں 232 انڈیکیٹرز ہیں. ٹھیک ہے, آپ SDG کے فریم ورک کو briefly میں سمجھاؤں. اس میں ان 232 میں سے 44 indicators are directly linked to the issues of children. اچھا, تو اس سے چائلڈ رائٹس از ویری ویل پلیسڈ اور ویل روٹیڈ ان دی SDG 2030 ایجنڈا. SDGs کے کوئی 44 اور 8-10 گولز ہیں جو ڈائریکٹلی لنک ہے چائلڈ رائٹس کے ڈفرینٹ ایشوز کے حوالے سے. اس لیے SDG ٹاسک فورس سے ایک اسپیشل کمیٹی بنائی ہے چائلڈ رائٹس کی. تقریباً 1 سال ہو گیا اس کمیٹی کو بنے ہوئے, جس کو ہیڈ کرتی ہے مہناز عزیز صاحبہ. بے شمار ایکٹیویٹیز اس کے تحت ہوئی ہیں. ایک ایکٹیویٹی جو ہم نے کی کہ ایک چائلڈ رائٹس کی جو لیجسلیشن ہے پورے ملک کی, اس کا ہم نے انالیسس کیا, جس کا ریفرنس ابھی دیا عائشہ صاحب نے اپنی گفتگو میں, اس میں ڈیٹیل میں نہیں جاتا. ایک وہ اسٹڈی ہم نے کروائی ہے. اب ہم نیکسٹ اسٹیپ پہ جا رہے ہیں, ہم کنسولیڈیشن آف دیز لاز کی طرف جا رہے ہیں. یہ پروونسز جو سجاد چیمہ صاحب نے بات کی کہ پروونسز کے اور فیڈرل کے لاز میں کنٹرڈکشن ہے, ڈیفینیشن کے حوالے سے بھی اور ان کے سکوپ کے حوالے سے بھی, امپلیمنٹیشن کا جو سکوپ ہوتا ہے. اب ہم جو ہمارا پلان ہے اس سال کا کہ ہم کنسولیڈیشن کی طرف لا کی طرف جاتے ہوئے ایک ماڈرن لا لے کے چائلڈ پروٹیکشن کا نیشنل لیول کے اوپر, اور اسی کی جو پھر ہم جو میجر فیچرز ہیں صوبوں میں امپلیمنٹ کرنے کی کوشش کریں, لیگل اسٹینڈرڈ ہم ڈیولپ کریں. تیسری بات ہم یہ کرنے جا رہے ہیں اس میں टास्क फोर्स की तरफ से कि हमने अपने SDG का जितना भी काम है उसमें हमें चाइल्ड राइट्स को प्रायोरिटी में रखा हुआ है, जहाँ पे जो इंडिकेटर्स लाइक पॉवर्टी में, हंगर में, एजुकेशन के गोल में, इवन क्लाइमेट चेंज में, जेंडर इक्वालिटी में, हेल्थ में, इनमें पार्टनरशिप में, SCCI में, जितने भी इनइक्वालिटीज में, इन जितने गोल में जितने भी चाइल्ड रिलेटेड इश्यूज आ रहे हैं सारे, उनको हमने एक मार्क कर लिया। हम उसके साथ पार्टनरशिप की तरफ जा रहे हैं सारे चाइल्ड राइट्स की इदारों की तरफ। अभी जिससे रिसेंटली नेशनल चाइल्ड राइट्स कमीशन बना, उनके साथ मेरी बड़ी लंबी चौड़ी सीटिंग्स हुई हैं, उनके साथ हमने बात किया। तो वी आर विजिलेंट फ्रॉम द पार्लियामेंट, हम ये पार्टनरशिप डेवलप कर रहे हैं। आपने देखा पहली दफा चाइल्ड लेजिस्लेशन का एनालिसिस हुआ, अब कंसोलिडेशन की तरफ जा रहे हैं। अभी हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि अब जैसा ज़ारा है, ज़ैनब अलर्ट एक आया, वो चाइल्ड अब्यूज के हवाले से, लेकिन इसी तरह और जो चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन का एक बिल इस्लामाबाद में आया, तो वो चाइल्ड लेबर को एड्रेस क्यों नहीं कर रहा। इन इश्यूज पे हम जा रहे हैं और इन इश्यूज पे करीब आपको डिबेट नजर आएगी पार्लियामेंट में, जैसी नॉर्मल पार्लियामेंट्री प्रैक्टिसेस आर रिज्यूम्ड इन द पार्लियामेंट। अभी तो कोविड की वजह से आपको पता है एक एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी सिचुएशन में पार्लियामेंट ऑपरेट कर रही है, और अभी जो बजट सेशन है वो भी स्पेशल मेजर्स के तहत लिया जा रहा है। आपको पता है सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग और रोस्टर के तहत वहाँ पे वो लोग आ रहे हैं, 50 महीने से ज्यादा एक दिन में नहीं जाते। तो नॉर्मल बिजनेस अभी नहीं है। अभी जैसे ही हम नॉर्मल बिजनेस रिस्टोर करते हैं, इसका स्टैंडिंग कमेटीज काम करती हैं, तो इंशाल्लाह आपको टास्क फोर्स का और हमारी जो सब कमेटी है जिसका महनाज अजीज साहब लीड कर रही है, मैंने और सारी पार्टियों के लोग उसमें मौजूद है, उसकी तरफ से बेशुमार इंटरवेंशन आपको इंशाल्लाह आने वाले दिनों में मिलेंगे। मुझे सर
थैंक यू सो मच चौधरी शफीक साहब फॉर योर अपडेट। आपने जो बताया है कि किस तरह से जो पार्लियामानी टास्क फोर्स है SDGs की, वो कौन से स्टेप्स लेने जा रही है चाइल्ड लेबर के हवाले से, चाइल्ड राइट्स के हवाले से। थैंक यू सो मच। ये भी एक बड़ा इट्स अ वेलकम एडिशन ऑफ नेशनल कमीशन ऑन चाइल्ड ऑन द राइट्स ऑफ द चाइल्ड। ये भी एक अच्छा इकदाम है, और अब 70 साल के बाद बिल आखिर वी हैव दिस कमीशन। शायद अल्लाह ना करे कि इसका हाल भी वही हो जो नेशनल कमीशन फॉर ह्यूमन राइट्स का हुआ है, और वो डोरमेंट पड़ा हुआ पिछले 2 साल से। लेट्स सी, होप फॉर द बेस्ट। चौधरी साहब, स्टे विद अस। आई हैव टू गो टू आफ्ताब आलम खान साहब, who is a food security, poverty and population expert internationally. इनकी इंटरवेंशंस रही हैं। आफ्ताब आलम साहब, आप बताइए कि आप इस पूरे इशू को जो पाकिस्तान का है, किस तरह से आप देखते हैं कि क्या हम पॉजिटिवली आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि इसकी जो डेफिनेशंस हैं, चीज़ें हैं, लेजिस्लेशन है, उसके ऊपर तो काफ़ी बात हो चुकी। स्पेसिफिकली कि पॉवर्टी, पॉपुलेशन एंड फूड सिक्योरिटी का जो नेक्सस बन रहा है चाइल्ड लेबर के हवाले से, उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं? हाउ टू कॉम्बैट? प्लीज गो।
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Munir Saab. I would like to share my points, and they would respond to the question that you have asked.
Yeah.
One is that it is important to look at the causes of child labor in Pakistan. Various researches have shown that there are 6 or 7 underlying factors. One is the large family size that you also mentioned in your advertisement of the event. Large family size, poverty, low level of parents' education or no education at all. And then single parents or orphans, lack of healthcare and education and infrastructure related services due to corruption of in budget by in those heads, and then lack of monitoring and actions by implementing authorities against child labor. And rather labor inspectors have been involved. They are reported in corruption to turn their eyes away. And then the child kidnapping mafia is also an important cause of child labor in Pakistan. And then while their future is jeopardized, they also face huge mental and physical impact, like we have talked about sexual abuse, physical and mental violence, and they receive meager income because most of the time they are employed as helpers, and researches show that at maximum they get sometimes 1,000 or 2,000 per month, which is way below our minimum wage. And then I would like to share the feelings of these child laborers. that I have come across, 2 or 3. For example, I met this 7-year-old beggar who said that, "Uncle, don't consider me a child. I am not a child anymore. I have turned to 7 years of age. And these days, I am collecting money to buy a gas cylinder, small gas cylinder, so that I use it in my stove, and then I would enjoy paratha." Another boy that I have seen, not more than 8 years of age, working in a factory. One day he is seen in a factory working, and once he received his payment after 15 days, I have seen him purchasing a toy for himself. Then I would like to talk about two fathers. One father that I met in Islamabad, he's a daily laborer, and he said that he was unable to send his child to school because they asked the Form B, which is a registration form, and I do not have a Form B. If I go to the southern Punjab, it takes 4,000 or 5,000 a trip, and I cannot afford that. Then another father who says that who buys very low and substandard vegetable ghee and substandard tea whitener. He says that he cannot afford good quality food to feed 10 or 12 members family because he cannot afford. So these are the feelings and the realities which are also linked with the causes I've just mentioned. In terms of COVID, researches also show that child labor increases when there is an economic crisis or there is a natural disaster. We know that COVID-19 has brought a health crisis, but also an economic crisis among other complications in the challenges. And now in rural areas, we also see the locust swarm, which is also a big disaster. There is a strong possibility that due to COVID-19 and the resultant economic crisis, the child labor would be increasing. And this was also substantiated by Mr. Zahur Awan Saab about Quetta example. And since overall income will shrink, the food security, the food insecurity would worsen among those children. Also greater number of rural girls and boys, I fear, would be brought to posh areas of mega cities like Islamabad and others to work as housemaids because they are cheap labor. In terms of the locust swarm, if this is not controlled in the near future, I think there will be more migration, rural-urban migration, and this has also been discussed as one of the cause of child labor in cities. I would suggest 2 or 3 very important points that can help us to address this. One, I demand that SAS program should start a program for child labor, but with a transition and flexible approach. Some child labor, they have genuine problems at the household level. For them, there should be some stipend, should be introduced with them, and flexible skill development and training and education program so that they can learn and improve their education and their future, while if it is essential for their families' need, some survival related work. And then capture the mafia that kidnap children and use them for begging and other illegal purposes. I think all societies, all posh societies in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Karachi, Lahore, and other big cities, they should be held accountable. That if child labor work there, they should be held accountable. And in terms of COVID-19 and education, the online education, I think it's very important to understand that it has also further aggravated the digital divide because poor, they cannot afford online education in the current circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aftab Alam Khan Saab, for shedding light on the ways to improve conditions for children. Now I see Malik Muhammad Ashraf Saab, President Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sir, can you hear me? Malik Mohammed Ashraf Sahab, please अपना माइक ऑन करें. मलिक मोहम्मद अशरफ साहब, मलिक मोहम्मद अशरफ साहब की विंडो तो यहाँ पे खुली हुई है, लेकिन वो मेरा ख्याल है कि इस वक्त अभी नजर नहीं आ रहे. सगीर बुखारी साहब भी हमारे साथ हैं. सगीर बुखारी साहब, आपको थोड़ा सा और हमारे साथ वो बर्दाश्त करना पड़ेगा. फिर मैंने आपसे बेसिकली ये जितनी इस वक्त हम बात कर रहे हैं इसका कंक्लूजन मैंने आपसे लेना है कि किस तरह से ILO जो है वुड बी helping different stakeholders and partners to improve situation for children. उम्मीद है कि आप हमारे साथ ही होंगे. आप भी विंडो ऑन करके कहीं आगे पीछे नहीं हुए होंगे. मलिक मोहम्मद अशरफ साहब, जब आप मेरी आवाज़ सुन लें और आप हूँ तो प्लीज़ स्विच ऑन योर माइक, और फिर ताकि हम सियालकोट में के बारे में जो बात हो रही है, जो उसके ऊपर एलिगेशंस हैं सियालकोट में इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, उसके ऊपर भी बात कर सकें कि किस तरह से वहाँ पर चाइल्ड लेबर की क्या सूरत हाल है, एंड हाउ Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry helping communities to improve a situation. Now I would like to go to Dr. Seema Mumtaz Sahib. Are you there? Dr. Seema Mumtaz, उनकी भी विंडो खुली है. डॉक्टर सीमा, आप सुन रही हैं मुझे? जी जी, आप सुन रही हैं? माइक ऑन कीजिए जरा.
सर,
ये मुझे बताइए कि इस वक्त आपसे हमने रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि आपने इस वक्त सुन लिया कि कहा कौन कौन सी चाइल्ड लेबर की फॉर्म्स हैं एंड हाउ दे आर इम्पैक्टिंग हेल्थ ऑफ चिल्ड्रन. व्हाट डू यू से, लाइक what psychological and physical impact children face while they have underage employment or work or labor in different sectors? Dr. Seema.
First of all, thank you for including me in this very healthy and a very comprehensive type of discussion. The main thing is कि हम जिस चीज़ को अभी तक देख भी रहे, एक तो मैडम
डॉक्टर सीमा, बेशक आप अपनी वीडियो जो है वो बंद कर लें क्योंकि इस वक्त थोड़ी सी वो आ रही है.
ओके सर, सबसे पहले तो ये कि जो सर मसला ये है कि जैसे चाइल्ड वर्क और चाइल्ड लेबर दो बातें कही गई थी, एंड दे आर वेरी राइटली सेड कि वर्क जो है दैट्स अ हेल्दी थिंग, while if you place some harm due to that forced work, which is child labor, will cause harm to physical, mental and social things. Now the impact of this child labor on health of children, especially in Pakistani context, अगर हम देखें तो 1990 में वी हैड वो जो आपने शुरू में बड़ी राइटली कहा था कि द ओनली फिगर्स दैट वी हैव इन हैंड 11 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन वर गिवन एज चाइल्ड लेबर. ठीक है, यूनिसेफ का एक डेटा जो हमें मिलता है आफ्टर वेरी sort of आप अच्छी तरह से जब आप देखते हैं, और यूनिसेफ की एक चीज़ मिल रही है कि 86 मिलियन के करीब अब जो हैं बच्चे दे आर डूइंग चाइल्ड वर्क. नाउ द थिंग इज द मोस्ट डेंजरस थिंग दैट वी आर इंट्रोड्यूसिंग थ्रू चाइल्ड लेबर इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द मेंटल हेल्थ. इन बच्चों की जो मेंटल कैपेसिटी और मेंटल ग्रोथ है, they can never be healthy because forced work जो है वो कभी भी इनको किसी अच्छे या फ्रूटफुल आउटकम की तरफ नहीं ले जाएगा. اب ہمارے ہاں جو اس وقت ایک بہت بڑا ایک ایشو ہے وہ ہیلتھ جو ہے وہ کمپریہنسو اور اوور آل آپ سمجھیں کہ اس میں ہم دیکھتے ہیں کمپریہنسو اسٹیٹس میں دیکھتے ہیں تو اس میں ہمیں سوشل اور کلچرل ویلیو آف دیز تھنگس آر آلسو ویری امپورٹنٹ. ہمارا سوشل سیٹ اپ ایسا ہے کہ وی ہیو ٹیکن دس ایز a taboo, as a stigma, as something, but how much have we done for this thing is a question. It's still a question. ہم نے بہت سی این جی اوز بنانی, ہم نے بہت سارے کام کیے, بٹ ایٹ دا اینڈ ہم پاکٹس میں کام کر رہے ہیں. there is no united work that is coming up. So that's a very important issue. And second one is the cultural value. ہمارا moral جو کہتے ہیں سیٹ اپ جو ہے وہ بھی بہت ڈسٹرب ہو چکا ہے. ویری رائٹلی ابھی بات کی گئی تھی اس بچی کی, زہرا کی. ایک برڈ کے اڑ جانے سے اتنا تشدد کہ شی ڈائٹ, اور 8 سال کی بچی, ہاؤ واز شی امپلائڈ.
بالکل صحیح کہہ رہی ہیں ڈاکٹر صاحبہ, یہ ہمارے ہاں انٹالرنس بھی بڑھ گئی ہے اور ظاہر ہے کہ اس کے کوئی سوشو اکنامک امپیکٹ کی وجہ ہے اور بھی بہت سارے مسائل ہیں. اینڈ تھینک یو سو مچ فار یور کنٹریبیوشن. ناؤ آئی ہیو ٹو گو اہیڈ. اس سے پہلے کہ میں صغیر بخاری صاحب, آپ ہیں ہم میرے ساتھ؟ صغیر بخاری صاحب, صغیر بخاری صاحب, اوکے. اس وقت آئی کین سی سم نیمس دیٹ آئی ایم ناٹ ریکگنائزنگ. میں جو اس وقت جو پارٹیسپینٹس ہمارے ساتھ موجود ہیں میں ان سے ریکویسٹ کروں گا کہ ہمارا وہ جو چیٹ والا پلیٹ فارم ہے یہاں پر, وہاں پر اپنے فون نمبر اور ای میل ضرور چھوڑ دیں تاکہ آپ کو واٹس ایپ پہ ہم اپنی اگلی جو ڈسکشنز ہیں اس میں ایڈ کر سکیں. تو یہ بہت اچھا ہو جائے گا. اٹس بیسکلی نیٹ ورکنگ, اور ممکن ہے کہ جو اگلا جو ہمارا پینل ڈسکشن ہو, ویبینار ہو, اس میں آپ کی بھی جو تھاٹس ہیں اس کو آپ ہمارے ساتھ شیئر کریں, اور اس طرح سے یور پارٹیسپیشن ول بی مور پروڈکٹیو اینڈ فروٹفل. سعید بخاری صاحب, آپ اس وقت ہمارے ساتھ ہیں؟ نہیں ہیں. ملک محمد اشرف صاحب, سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس, سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس سے کوئی بھی ہمارے ساتھ اس وقت موجود ہے تو ذرا اپنا مائک آن کرے. سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس سے ہمارے ساتھ کوئی ہیں اس وقت؟ نہیں. اوکے. ہمارے ساتھ موجود ہیں لبنہ تاجک صاحبہ, ایف او اسلام آباد سے. آپ یو آر ایکسپرٹ آن سوشل سیف گارڈز. لبنہ تاجک صاحبہ, اس وقت ابھی بات ہو رہی ہے, پچھلے جو بھی اسپیکرز آ رہے ہیں دے آر ٹاکنگ اباؤٹ سوشو اکنامک انڈیکیٹرز, اور اس کا جو امپیکٹ ہے وہ ہماری چائلڈ لیبر کو انہینس کر رہا ہے. What social safeguards are necessary and how development partners are contributing and helping Pakistan government to ensure social safeguards? Lubna Tajik Sahaba.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
منیر صاحب, سوشل سیف گارڈز کے حوالے سے جو ہے, جو جس طرح سے ہم کہتے ہیں کہ سیفٹی سیکیورٹی کی ہم بات کرتے ہیں, تو سیفٹی سیکیورٹی کے حوالے سے رولز ریگولیشنز ہوتے ہیں, اور ساتھ میں اس کی امپلیمنٹیشن ہوتی ہے ہزارڈس کنڈیشن میں. جس طرح سے ایگریکلچر کی اگر ہم بات کرتے ہیں تو وہاں پہ بہت سی ایسی چیزیں ہیں جہاں پہ چائلڈ لیبر کیونکہ ظاہر ایگریکلچر میں چائلڈ لیبر سب 70% ہے, تو اس کے حوالے سے ایسے میجرز لینے پڑتے ہیں جس میں بچے یا لوگ اور لوگ بھی جو ہے, جو ولنریبل لوگ ہیں, خواتین بھی اس میں شامل ہوتی ہیں, کہ وہ اس سے افیکٹ نہ ہو اور ان کے افیکٹس کو, رسک کو منیمائز کیا جا سکے. اس حوالے سے یہ ہوتا ہے کہ ظاہر ہے کہ ان کے لیے سیف گارڈز کے جتنے رولز ریگولیشنز ہیں ان کی پالیسی میں ہونا چاہیے. اس کے حوالے سے یہ بھی ہے کہ وہ پالیسیز جو ہے وہ امپلیمنٹ ہو رہی ہیں, اس کی پریکٹیکل امپلیمنٹیشن ہونی چاہیے. یہ چیز ایک چیز جو ہم پاکستان میں دیکھتے ہیں وہ یہ ہے کہ اس ایریا میں, اس سیکٹر میں اس کی امپلیمنٹیشن بہت کم ہے, بہت ہی کم ہے. اور جس طرح سے اگر پیسٹی سائڈس کو اگر آپ دیکھتے ہیں ایگریکلچر میں ہم استعمال کرتے ہیں تو بچے جو ہیں وہ اس سے افیکٹ ہوتے ہیں. کچھ جب جو ہے وہ لیتے ہیں, سانس لیتے ہیں اس طرح کی, اس میں جتنے بھی جو وہاں پہ کیمیکلز وغیرہ یوز کیے جاتے ہیں تو وہ جو ہے ان کی سانس کو, لنگس وغیرہ افیکٹ کرتے ہیں. کیونکہ یہاں پہ ڈاکٹر صاحب موجود ہیں, وہ بھی جانتی ہیں, آپ لوگ عام طور پہ بھی سب لوگ جانتے ہیں کہ ان چیزوں سے کتنا زیادہ فرق پڑتا ہے. تو جس طرح سے کہ اب یہ اگر ہم دیکھیں کہ ہم لوگ اس کو میڈیکل پوائنٹ آف ویو سے ہم اس کو کیسے اس کو کر سکتے, ہم منیمائز کر سکتے ہیں رسک کو, اور ٹیکنالوجی کے حوالے سے ہم ان رسک کو کیسے منیمائز کر سکتے ہیں. یہ ہمارا بیسک کام ہے ایز ان ایگریکلچر سیکٹر. اور ایف اے او ان ساری چیزوں کو سپورٹ کر رہا ہے. جو رورل ایریاز میں جو فارمرز ہیں, جو چائلڈ لیبر وہاں پہ ہے, بچے جو انوالو ہیں ایگریکلچر کے حوالے سے, اس میں ان کو جو ہے کم سے کم جو ہے ان کی جو ہے ایکسپوز ہوں وہ اس طرح کی چیزوں کو. اور کوشش یہ ہوتی ہے کہ زیادہ جو ہے ان کے اوپر بوجھ نہ پڑے بچوں کے اوپر, اور جو ہے وہ ان کی جو ہارڈ شپس ہیں وہ کم ہو سکے اس کے اندر.
لبنہ تاجک صاحبہ, ایک میں یہاں پہ ایک بات کرنا چاہ رہا تھا کہ جیسے بات کی تھی ڈاکٹر شکیل خان نے بھی کہ اویئرنیس دے رہے ہیں, اویئرنیس کے سے آگے بھی تو کچھ چیزیں ایسی ہونی چاہیے کہ جہاں سے پیرنٹس جو ہیں وہ اپنے بچوں کو ایگریکلچر اپنی فیلڈ میں نہ لے کے جائیں, کیونکہ وہ مجبوری میں لے کے جاتے ہیں کہ جب ان کی بچوں کو کوئی دوسری انگیجمنٹ نہیں ہوتی, پروڈکٹیو انگیجمنٹ نہیں ہوتی, تو ظاہر ہے کہ ان کو اپنے ساتھ کھیتوں میں لے کے جاتے ہیں اور وہاں پہ ان کو کام کرنا پڑتا ہے. تو کوئی ایسی آپ لوگوں کی بھی انٹروینشنز ہیں ود ان کولیبوریشن ود ادر پارٹنرز کہ جہاں پہ بچوں کو ادر دین ورک انگیج کیا جا رہا ہو؟
کس طرح سے ادر دین ورک انگیج کیا جا رہا ہو؟
مطلب ایجوکیشن کے اندر انگیج کیا جا رہا ہو, یا ان کو فرض کریں کہ اگر جو جیسے چھوٹے بچے ہیں ان کو کسی کھیل کے اندر, کھیل میں سکھانے کے جو انفارمل ایجوکیشن ہے اس کے اندر, یا جو بڑے بچے ہیں جو ٹین ایج ہیں ان کو اسکل ڈیولپمنٹ میں کوئی ایسے پروگرامز بھی ایف او کر رہا ہے اپنے 5-7 ڈسٹرکٹ جس کے اندر آپ لوگ کام کر رہے ہیں؟
جی, اس میں اس طرح سے ہے کہ ہم لوگوں کا جو مین وہ ہے جس میں ہمیں یہ پتا ہے کہ ظاہر ہے ہم لوگ, میں اگر کے پی کے حوالے سے بات کروں تو یہاں پہ ہم مرج ڈسٹرکٹس میں کام کر رہے ہیں جہاں پہ بہت عرصے سے جو ہے ڈسپلیسمنٹ رہی ہے, اور لوگ ابھی واپس جا رہے ہیں اور گئے ہیں, بہت سے لوگ ابھی نہیں گئے. اور تو وہاں پر جو ہے حالات ہے کیونکہ وہاں بچے بھی افیکٹ ہوئے ہیں, وہاں پہ بڑے بھی افیکٹ ہوئے ہیں. تو ایگریکلچر کے حوالے سے ایف او نے یہ کیا ہے. سوری, پہلے میں یہ تو بتا دوں کہ جو میرا مین ٹاپک تھا جو کہ مجھے کل دیا گیا تھا اس سے تو ہٹ کے بات ہو رہی ہے, بالکل ہی ڈفرینٹ بات ہو رہی ہے. تو اس لیے جو ہے میں آپ لوگوں کو زبانی اب بول رہی ہوں, جو میں نے تقریر لکھی تھی وہ نہیں میں بول رہی, ٹھیک ہے نا.
تقریر تو ویسے بھی نہیں کرنی چاہیے,
وہ ویسے بھی نہیں کرنی چاہیے, لیکن چونکہ اس میں فیکٹس ہوتے ہیں تو وہ ہم آپ کو بیان کر سکتے تھے.
نہیں, پلیز آپ وہ جو جی آپ کا جو ٹاپک ہے اس کے اوپر بھی آپ بات کر سکتے ہیں. اور جی
آپ کی یہ بات بہتر ہے, میں اس کو وہ کر دوں کہ ہم لوگ بچوں کو جو ہے اس طرح سے ہے کہ ہمیں یہ پتہ ہے کہ اس علاقے میں جب مرج ڈسٹرکٹ کی بات کرتے ہیں یا سندھ کے باقی جو علاقے ہیں جس طرح سے ڈاکٹر صاحب بات کریں, شکیل صاحب, تو یہ ہے اس میں بچے جو ہے انوالو ہوتے ہیں پیرنٹس کے ساتھ, وہ ساتھ ساتھ کام کرتے ہیں کیونکہ پاورٹی اور جو ہے فوڈ سیکیورٹی, پاپولیشن, یہ ان سب کا بہت زیادہ گہرا نیکسس ہے, گہرا تعلق ہے. تو اگر ہم اس میں سے جو ہے پاپولیشن, ظاہر ہے یہ بچے اور عورتیں ہیں, یہی ہیں, تو ان کے حوالے سے کیونکہ یہ میں فاٹا کے حوالے سے بات کروں گی, ایکس فاٹا اور اب جو مرج ڈسٹرکٹ ہے کہ وہاں پہ 70% جو ہے نا عورتیں ایگریکلچر میں انوالو ہیں. ظاہر ہے ان کے ساتھ بچے بھی انوالو ہوتے ہیں, وہ اپنے پیرنٹس کی ہیلپ کر رہے ہوتے ہیں. ایک چھوٹی سی میں آپ کو مثال اس میں دوں گی کہ ایک چھوٹی بچی 8 سال کی تھی, اس کے والد صاحب جو تھے ادھر ہی قرم ایجنسی میں وہ رہتے ہیں, اس کے والد صاحب کے ہاتھ اور پاؤں دونوں ایک بام بلاسٹ میں جو ہے ضائع ہو گیا تھا, تو وہ کام نہیں کر سکتے تھے, وہ فارمر تھے. پھر اس کے جو چچا تھے ایک اندھے تھے اور ایک جو تھے وہ جو تھے ان کے دونوں ہاتھ جو تھے وہ معذور تھے دونوں ہاتھوں سے. تو وہ بچی جو تھی, چونکہ وہ بڑی تھی, 8 سال کی بچی ہے, وہ ابھی ہے اور وہ کام کر رہی تھی, تو اس کو جو ہے جو یہ گھاس کاٹنے والی اور اس کی جو فوڈر کا جو چاپنگ مشین ہوتی ہے وہ اس سے ہاتھ سے ہی کام کرتی تھی. تو ظاہر ہے کہ وہ اسکول وغیرہ نہیں جا سکتی تھی, تو اس کے لیے پھر یہ ہوا کہ جب ہم لوگوں نے اسسمنٹ کیا, ہم نے دیکھا کہ یہ ایک ایسی فیملی جس کو بہت زیادہ ضرورت ہے, تو اگر چاپنگ مشین انہیں دے دی جائے تو اس بچی کا وقت بھی بچ جائے گا, اور جو ہے اس کے حوالے سے یہ ہے کہ اس کے باپ کو جو ہے یا اس کے والد صاحب کو جو ہے تھوڑا کام کرنے کو, ایک ہاتھ سے وہ کام کر سکتے تو وہ کر لیں گے. تو جب ان کو چاپنگ مشین دی گئی تو وہ ان کو اتنا زیادہ فرق پڑا کہ وہ بہت خوش ہوئے, اور بچی جو ہے اسکول میں داخل ہو گئی اس حوالے سے.
زبردست.
یہ چیز جو ہے ایف اے او کر رہا ہے, ان لوگوں کو سپورٹ دے رہا ہے, اور جو ہے جہاں جہاں پر ہم اسسمنٹس کرتے ہیں دیکھتے ہیں کہ جو بھی ولنریبل لوگ ہیں اس کے اندر چائلڈ ہیڈڈ ہاؤس ہولڈ ہو گئے یا ویمن ہیڈڈ ہاؤس ہولڈ ہو گئے, ہم ان کو دیکھ رہے ہیں اور جو ہے دیکھتے ہیں. پرائرٹی ہماری انہی کی ہوتی ہے تاکہ ہم ان لوگوں کو سپورٹ دے سکیں, اور ظاہر ہے جب ان کو سپورٹ دیں گے تو باقی فیملی اور کمیونٹی سب کو.
جی لبنہ تاجک صاحبہ, ایک کوئک کمنٹ. کووڈ-19 کے بعد اور لوکسٹ کے بعد آپ کیا سمجھتے ہیں کہ پاکستان مزید کتنا فوڈ انسیکیور ہو جائے گا؟ اس وقت کتنا ہے اگر آپ دیکھیں, اور اگلے چند مہینوں میں یا ایک سال میں مزید کتنا فوڈ انسیکیور ہو جائے گا پاکستان؟
دیکھیں ابھی تک کی جو بات تھی اس میں تو یہ تھا کہ کووڈ-19 کی وجہ سے, کیونکہ ہمارا ایگریکلچر سسٹم جو ہے نا اٹ مائٹ کولیپس, سو the consequences will be strong at regional level as well as the country exports large goods of to neighboring countries like Afghanistan. So with the spread of COVID-19, Pakistan is at risk of regional food crisis affecting millions of people, mostly women and children, and it will increase child labor. So to prevent this agriculture system collapse, FAO in Pakistan adopted preventive and protective measures for farming communities to enable them to continue working and sustaining themselves in safety. Like for harvest, a secure transport system was put in place so that farmers can transport materials and seed between villages to reseed their fields.
Okay.
And it will also be
thank you لبنہ تاجک صاحبہ. یہ مہر کو ذرا دے دیجیے گا, آپ اپنی اسپیچ وہ مجھے اس کی ڈاک فائل جو ہے وہ ای میل کر دیں گی, تو اس میں سے ہم اپنی رپورٹ میں بھی ڈال دیں گے, اور میڈیا کو بھی جو آج ہم ریلیز کریں گے تو اس میں سے we will take a quote from. اور thank you so much. اب we will go ahead and see like if ملک محمد اشرف صاحب سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس اینڈ انڈسٹری سے ہمارے ساتھ آئے ہیں, کیونکہ ملک محمد اشرف صاحب سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس اینڈ انڈسٹری, آپ کی ونڈو اوپن ہے, آر یو دیئر؟ کافی ساری اناؤنسمنٹس ہم آپ کے لیے کر چکے ہیں, لیکن میں دوسرا یہ ہے کہ ہمارے ساتھ ہونا چاہیے شعیب احمد شہزاد صاحب کو UNFPA پنجاب سے. ملک شہزاد صاحب آپ ہمارے ساتھ ہیں؟ سوری, شعیب احمد شہزاد صاحب, شعیب احمد شہزاد صاحب اس وقت ہمارے ساتھ وہ بھی نہیں ہیں, اور ہمارے ساتھ کچھ اور پارٹیسپینٹس موجود ہیں. رابعہ عارف ہیں, غفار صاحب ہیں, اور تانیہ اعتزاز ہیں, اور ویوو 1718 ایاز کریم. آپ میں سے کوئی اس کے حوالے سے کوئی بات کرنا چاہتا ہو, کوئی بات پوچھنا چاہتا ہو تو ناؤ اٹس اوپن مائک فار آل آف یو. If anyone like to ask or comment before we close down this webinar, please do share your WhatsApp numbers on private message. ابھی اس کے اوپر وہ کر دیں. میں شکر گزار ہوں اپنے تمام participants کا who participated in the webinar. ایک لمبی لسٹ ہے میرے پاس. میں سب کا, صغیر بخاری صاحب آپ ہمارے ساتھ ہیں کہ نہیں ہیں فار کنکلوڈنگ ریمارکس؟ صغیر بخاری صاحب. نہیں. تھینک یو سو مچ پارٹیسپینٹس. ملک محمد اشرف صاحب ہمارے ساتھ ہو گئے. ملک محمد اشرف صاحب اس وقت ہیں. یہ کون ہے اس وقت؟ سیما غازی فائن, ابھی انہوں نے جوائن کیا ہے. ابھی ہم بس بالکل ہم کنکلوڈ کرنے والے ہیں. اس میں سے آج کے ویبینار سے جو ہم بات لے کے جا سکتے ہیں وہ یہ ہے کہ دیر آر فیو تھنگس. کچھ کام گورنمنٹ کے کرنے کے ہیں, کچھ ڈیولپمنٹ پارٹنرز جو ہیں وہ ان کے کرنے کے ہیں, لیکن جو انڈیویجول رول ہے دیٹ از ویری امپورٹنٹ ایز ویل. ہم کہیں اپنے ارد گرد دیکھتے ہیں, جیسے ڈومیسٹک لیبر کی بات ہو رہی تھی, تو ایٹ لیسٹ وی کین کرٹیل ڈومیسٹک لیبر بائی دی چلڈرن. اگر کچھ پیرنٹس اپنے ساتھ اپنے بچوں کو کام کرنے کے لیے لے کر آئیں تو ان کو انکریج نہ کریں. اور آئی ووڈ رادر ریکویسٹ کہ اگر جب تک وہ آپ کے گھر میں یا آپ کے کسی بھی ورک پلیس کے اوپر کام کرتے ہیں ان کے پیرنٹس, تو ان کے بچوں کو پروڈکٹیولی انگیج کریں انٹو ایجوکیشن. اگر آپ تھوڑا بہت ان کو ہیلپ کر دیں گے تو ڈیفینیٹلی اس طرح بچے کا انٹرسٹ جو ہے وہ ایجوکیشن کی طرف آئے گا. تو یہ ایک بہت اسمال سا کنٹریبیوشن. باقی ہم نے مائکرو اینڈ میکرو اینڈ میگا پالیسیز کے بارے میں تو بہت ساری بات کی ہے, کس طرح سے گورنمنٹ آف پاکستان از ٹیکنگ اپ یونیسیف, ILO اینڈ FAO. اپنے کل بات ہو رہی تھی شہزاد صاحب سے, UNFPA پنجاب میں جو ان کی انٹرونشنس ہیں, ابھی انہوں نے اس پہ بات کرنی تھی لیکن میرا خیال ہے کہ ہی از ناٹ ود us. And with this, thank you so much for your presence, for your participation in the webinar. Next Friday or Saturday, inshallah, we will come up with another burning and current issue to talk about. Allah Hafiz.